Hello and welcome to the Con Couple. I'm Richard,
I'm Caroline.
and we go to a frankly terrifying number of cons every year.
I would say we go to too few conventions.
I think that's the first time in like a year that you've actually done the entire intro properly.
I was too tired to think of a way to mess up the intro.
Hi everybody, this is a long one.
Yep. So much so that this time we're actually planning an additional drive because we only have about an hour and a half till we get home. So we're picking up our dog and then going to a park that's an hour away to go to a park and get ice cream to talk about the con longer because we know that an hour and a half is not going to be enough to cover it.
Yep.
This is our AnthroCon episode.
AnthroCon 2026.
Yep. This is, I think, our third year attending this one.
Yes. And this is... Are they still the biggest furry con in the world? I know there's like 2 or 3 that are kind of like competing for the top spot.
I will check because they actually do post numbers pretty regularly, but I'm not going to know what this year's numbers are because they have not announced those yet.
Generally speaking, this is amongst the biggest furry cons in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they have the top spot or if they got beaten out by somebody else this year, who knows? I do know they have reached the point at which they are starting to cap tickets, though.
Yeah, they've been doing that for the last couple years. They've also now made it so you have to pre-register to get to the con on Thursday. They only do pre-register there because people who are registering on site bog down admissions. So they basically say Thursdays for pre-registering only. Thursdays is day 0, which is effectively becoming day 1 at this point. So, but it's about 20,000 people. And it feels like more than that, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, they apparently processed 13,000 attendees on Thursday alone.
Mm-hmm.
Based on a conversation we had with somebody. So, yeah, this one's a biggie.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this one involves a lot of people in fursuits.
Mm-hmm.
So, should we talk briefly about the convention center itself?
Yep.
So
you do that, my phone's making me do capture test again.
Every time. So, this is in the David Lawrence Convention Center in Pittsburgh. And we've been to this convention center a few times. We'll actually be back here in a couple of weeks for Techo.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an interesting convention center. It's very pretty.
It is. And not very functional.
Yeah.
That's kind of the trade-off.
Yeah. Like, this was definitely
that
designed...
also describes Pittsburgh generally. It's a very pretty city, but it's built around rivers, which means that it's hard to navigate.
See, that doesn't bother me as much just because I come from a town that's built on a river, so I'm just kind of used to dealing with that.
You were literally just moaning about getting out of the city.
That's not the bridge. That's the tunnel that causes that problem.
AnthroCon 2025 is still currently listed as the biggest convention, and there have been a couple of the bigger ones that have happened since then. So
yeah, but yeah, so the convention center itself is very, very pretty, but it's got a couple of slightly weird design quirks. Specifically, the fact that it's built with a throughway in the middle of the ground floor that is vehicle accessible and is functionally outside. So it's almost like the building itself is on like 2 legs, and then it's connected from the second floor and above. So their main dealer's hall is actually on the 2nd floor, and then all of their panel rooms are on the 3rd. The thing is, in order to get to most of the panel rooms, you have to go across this bridge on the 3rd floor that looks down over the main vendor's hall, which is very fun. But if you're trying to get from one side of the convention center to the other in a hurry, that's a problem, because that sky bridge is the only way to do that, and there are going to be a lot of furries in your way.
Mm-hmm.
So again, like, I do like this convention center in its own way, but we have flat been told that they were kind of like, they were pushing the cap of the fire safety code this year, which I believe, insofar as like the convention center can only take so many people, and they are hitting that limit. Now, whether or not that means they end up doing the Gen Con thing and building an extra like extension to the convention center just for this con, I don't know, because this convention is very good for the city of Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the chairperson of the con, I believe, had a meeting with the mayor of Pittsburgh like 2 days before it started.
Yeah, there was a day, I think July 1st was declared like Furry Day or AnthroCon Day by the city of Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
And Pittsburgh loves them. Like, I checked that like news feed, which keep in mind is a news feed for mostly like normal human beings who don't know what furries are, and the comments were largely encouraging. People really liked it. And we met a few people at the con this year who because the fursuit parade that they wound up not having, more on that later, although
We'll
I'm sure
talk
if you're
about
listening to this, you probably already know.
You probably already know what happened with the Fursuit Parade this year, but we'll talk about it. It's not bad. It's
Anyway,
yeah.
A lot of the people who are in Pittsburgh go by to watch the Fursuit Parade on the 4th of July, because it's always 4th of July weekend. This year it was supposed to have fallen on the 4th exactly. They go out and they watch the Fursuit Parade with their families, and a few people just buy tickets out of idle curiosity the next year. We actually met a couple people like that at this con who were just like, are kind of similar to where we are, where we're not really involved with the furry community outside of conventions, but the furry community definitely has a way of adopting you rapidly and intensely. What?
It got described as being like the British Navy. So if you're not aware, the British Navy in the UK, back in the day, and when I say the British Navy back in the day, I mean when ships had sails, used to acquire their crews by literally just kidnapping people.
Mm-hmm.
This is how the furry community was described today.
Yeah.
You know, if you go in the wrong areas at certain times, the furry soldiers are like, "Hey, you seem cool. Do you want to become a furry?" But that's basically what happened to at least one of the primary entertainers at this con. So yeah, the furries are just an aggressively friendly bunch, and they are. As I've said before, the interesting thing about furry as a fandom is it's about celebrating each other in a way that a lot of other communities aren't. Like, if you're an anime fan, you are there to talk about, the anime that you love that has been created by somebody else, somebody with, with a budget, and they've done all that stuff. Furries don't really have an equivalent. There are a few, content creators within the furry community who are quite well known and quite popular, but there isn't any kind of, controlling force behind furry communities. They are about as grassroots as they come, and they are there purely to celebrate each other and each other's creativity and each other's art in whatever form that takes. Which means they do just have this incredibly wholesome energy that's kind of hard to describe. You can't gatekeep furry as a community, because it's about each other.
Yeah, the thing I keep saying is that every time the furry community, I don't think they can surprise me again. They do.
Mm-hmm.
And always in positive ways.
Yep.
Sometimes also in negative ways, but that's more just...
That's they know how to party.
Yeah, that's most of that. And FurCons, as we've pointed out with Anthro Ohio, have been growing at a pretty exponential rate post-pandemic. They're one of the few cons that I think are still continuing to boom. And because they're booming, they're facing their own kind of structural problems. Because the other problem that we're dealing with very much on the con scene right now is venues are getting increasingly expensive, and it's harder to hold grassroots cons.
Yeah. And
it's worth noting that AnthroCon is entirely nonprofit, as are pretty much all furry cons.
Yeah. Specifically, what's the official one for charity sporting events?
What are you talking about?
The specific tax code thing.
I do know it.
One?
Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah. But yeah, they are all non-profits, or most of them are. AnthroCon definitely is. And the interesting thing about AnthroCon, and I think this is true for most of the other FurCons, nobody's getting paid at this one.
Yeah.
Even if, generally speaking, a con of this size, even if it's a non-profit, will have people getting paid to do stuff for the con, because it's massive. And non-profits can still pay people. That non-profits does not mean that people are unpaid. Again, you and I work for a university that is a non-profit organization. They still pay us to do our jobs. Because again, that's how that works. Whereas AnthroCon is entirely volunteers. Even the staff, even Uncle Kage, who is the con chair and has been for God knows how long, they don't get paid.
Yeah. Now, they do get free hotel rooms and things like that, and other stuff that's comped, but that's about it.
Yeah, they get some perks and a few things comped, but they are not given any kind of salary or compensation in that regard.
Yeah. As a reminder, with names on this podcast, we do tend to kind of say persona names just because they're not people's actual names for the most part, unless we're saying something negative about people. And also all the workers at the con are pretty famous in the furry community, so it's not like we're saying anything that's unknown.
Standard rule of thumb: if your name is on the easily findable on the website, we're not going to be that circumspect about saying it. If you're just somebody we met at the con, we're not going to say your name without your permission.
Yep. And if we have it, we will generally say it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
still don't do. I do not remember if we have permission to say Reg friend's name. I don't think we do, so we won't say theirs.
I do not remember, so let's not.
Okay, but we will talk about them
Yep.
in very short order.
Yep.
I joke about this friend like they're basically like if you've seen Gilmore Girls, like the Kirk of furry conventions, where they just all the low level jobs they just do, just all of them.
They're very good at them.
Yeah, like I saw this person both at registration and like doing like line management stuff outside of Who's Lion later. Like they're just everywhere.
Which again, good for them.
Yep.
And the other thing to note is that a lot of the lower level volunteers, you do also get perks for being a lower level volunteer. You don't have to be like staff. Depending on the con.
This person I think is staff now, but I think it's the first year of being staff. Generally, it's a comp badge. I don't know what the situation is with hotel rooms or anything.
Yeah. Again, it varies from con to con, and I haven't looked into the specific volunteer reimbursement policies for AnthroCon. I suspect there are some, but I don't know exactly what they are. The one thing I am aware of is furry cons are very notorious for making sure they feed their volunteers quite well. So I suspect at the very least there are bonus snacks for being a volunteer. Furries like their snacks. But yeah. So the other thing we should briefly touch on is parking at the convention center.
Yep.
Parking at this one, there is an on-site parking garage. It's not awful.
No, it's not big. It's way too small for the convention center, but it's not awful in terms of price.
$15 a day event parking, and that's good for 15 hours. If you are there for more than 15 hours, it doubles to $30.
Yeah, we were pushing 15 hours at both Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, as in, I was checking my watch, we were like, we should make it back to the car.
I think on Friday we had 10 minutes.
Yeah.
10 minutes.
Yeah, we had 10 minutes left on that clock.
Yeah.
So, in order to get out without getting charged double parking rate, which, hey, $15 for 15 hours is not awful as far as parking goes.
I do think it was 12 the first year, but I don't think it's been upped since then.
I think you are correct, but I don't remember back that far.
Yeah.
I barely remember last week.
That's fair. That's why we have this podcast.
Exactly. That's barely a joke. What you're listening to is basically our form of scrapbooking.
Yep.
Yeah. So, changing lanes. Just a reminder, the disclaimer that we always forget to do. Yes, we record this podcast in our car. We are using hands-free lapel mics. We're keeping with all the regular, all the relevant laws and statutes of the various states we're driving through. So we're good on that front.
And I'm the one who's looking up various information. They also switched event apps this year. Venti now.
Yeah.
Which
it's the same one that the Whisker's using.
Well, I know the furries have a software for buying badges. Which I will admit, they're all different websites because they all require different login names to effectively access them, but they all clearly are built by the same person because they're very similar in terms of interface and design and stuff like that. And they still don't for AnthroCon, a lot of other free conventions, I actually have to use 2 separate emails because I buy both of our tickets, but for whatever reason, I can't tell if it's just not possible or I can't figure it out. I can't buy 2 tickets from one email account.
Yeah, you did mention that.
Yeah.
I think I'm assuming that's probably meant to be preventing you from buying badges for ne'er-do-wells so they don't want turning up. But at the same time, there are a lot of kids at this con.
Yeah.
I'm assuming their parents had to buy them badges.
Well, I know there's a separate system for minors generally, and a lot of free cons also allow minors to be included on adult badges if they're below a certain age. I think for AnthroCon, if you're below the age of 13, you're just included on your parents' badge for free, and you can just basically request a minor badge at registration generally.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think they're thinking what that is, they're going to have a parent present to be there anyway, because it's also their policy that if you're under that age, you're not allowed to be by yourself at any time. So if the parent has to buy a badge anyway, they can just be free. And then teenagers, teenagers do still have to have a guardian present to basically register and consent to them being there, but they can be left on their own in the con space occasionally.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So parking, not bad, but so are we ready to just kind of dive head first into everything?
You ready?
I think so.
Tiger? Whatever. That one doesn't work. We'll do another take later.
We never do that.
No, we don't.
It requires editing, and I'm too
Yeah.
lazy to edit.
Also, in case you can't tell, we're running on way too little sleep right now.
We'll talk about that.
Yep.
So, we got there on Thursday. Specifically, we left home at what, like 10ish?
Yeah.
A little before 10?
Registration opens, quote unquote, at 12. That's, I think, the hard opening deadline for AnthroCon both this year and that. I'm pretty sure they did start registering people prior to 12, but you weren't allowed in the convention center until 12 o'clock.
Yeah. However, the first year we were there 2 years ago, they had a pretty big issue with lines outside, kind of like snaking around the building and like people standing in hot sun. Because again, 4th of July weekend. Last year, they did a much better job with it because they deliberately set it up so that they closed off that section I mentioned, that's a drive-through section, specifically so that people had a space to stand and queue that was in the shade.
Which is very important.
Good call.
Massive heat wave this weekend.
Yeah. So they'd done the same thing again, and by the time we parked up and got inside, and again, we parked up and there was still a reasonable number of spaces available, but it was not like official opening doors time yet. Most of the line was already inside at that point, which I think was a very, very good decision on somebody's part. They did have we kind of got to the place we needed to go, and they had a bunch of different lines set up outside, depending on what your needs were. So they had the standard one, which had a bunch of switchbacks in it, depending on how long it got. They had one for sponsors, one for super sponsors, and was it just sponsors and super sponsors?
It was ultra sponsors.
Ultra sponsors, and ultra sponsors was also specifically labeled as and ADA access.
This was basically to prevent people with ADA from staying outside in the heat for too long, which, as somebody who has ADA stuff that is affected by heat, thank you for that. It wound up not being relevant at the time because they did smartly open the doors earlier.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, the ultra sponsors and ADA lines aren't the same line. It's just so that you can get into the building with relative haste.
Yeah. Again, I think that was a reasonable compromise on that front. Because again, there's basically the external line, and then when you get through the door, you have to go into another line. I understand why that bothers some people, but it's kind of the only practical way to handle it sometimes.
Yep.
So you get to the doors, you get inside, and then they did have somebody directing the flow of traffic. I did basically say, excuse me, ADA, and he basically said, that away in the middle, under the sign. And I looked over, and there was a giant sign. Thanks, that's super helpful. That's very well labeled.
They did not have that last year. ADA labeling way better this year.
Yeah, like again, the one thing I do really appreciate about FurCons is they, generally speaking, take the feedback and improve as a result. Like the difference between between the first year we went and last year was really impressive, and the difference between between last year and this year, not as big a difference, but again, a bunch of improvements from last year, which I really like to see. Like, good job. And in particular, the ADA line was very deliberately very, very wide, and they had a bunch of chairs racked up, so if you needed to sit, you could sit. Great job, guys. Whoever thought of that, you are a smart cookie. Well done.
Yep. And there's a lot of really complex understanding. I was commenting to you about how people typically think of disabilities as very paradigm cases of wheelchair, blind, or deaf, and those are just all the disabilities, and that's like 1% of the disabilities people have. And it's good to accommodate those, but I appreciate people being understanding of the fact that I really can't stand in lines even though I can walk perfectly fine, and I can't really stand for long periods of time even though I can move for long periods of time. So
disability is a very, very complex subject.
Yeah. And we got checked in by this. Oh, I should also mention they did have a separate line for dealers and panelists. This is only relevant because
you were paneling.
And I will say, as a panelist, I do have a couple minor criticisms. Mostly, I was just given no actual information. I had to go by ConOps once we were in. The only reason I even knew the paneling line would have existed is because I was in the Discord server and heard other people who had paneled at the con before talking about it, or read, I guess.
Yeah.
So I would appreciate a little bit more information.
Yeah.
And paneling at this con doesn't offer any benefits other than it's cool, but I'm glad I did it this year. We'll talk more about that.
We'll talk about it. But yeah, so the process of getting our badges was very, very smooth and easy. the person called us up to the desk, and we went up, present the IDs, presented yours first. They do actually have, like the scanner to scan your ID, which is pretty useful. Doesn't work on mine, but that's not a problem. Because again, I don't have that particular form of ID in this context, or not one that meshes with their system.
Mhm.
But so you got your badge.
Yeah, and by the way, the person who checked us in was great, by the way. Shout out to them.
Oh yeah, they did a fantastic job. You just liked them because they laughed at your joke.
Well, partially that. There was also a person next to them who was explaining ADA access and like how you could go to health and safety at any time and like register issues with ADA. And I can tell that they're really trying. And I love how passionate the furry community is about making furry cons accessible. Like furry cons, again, tend to be light years ahead of most other conventions in terms of access. It's just awesome.
Yeah, like comparing this to Origins from 2 weeks ago, which similar number of people, but the way that they handled ADA stuff was really, really bad.
Mhm.
The way that this con handled it was about the best I've ever seen.
Yeah.
At
least with registration. There were a couple problems in the West End this year, but that was not the ADA or accessibility teams at all because they weren't making those decisions.
Yeah. And again, we'll talk about that.
Yeah. And I will say we didn't do any like events that required lining up for main events this year, but they also had an ADA access line on the far side of that wall with chairs, which is awesome.
Good job. Like again, it's very clear that somebody cares.
Mm-hmm.
So we got your badge first, then we got mine.
Yep.
Should we? Yeah. Okay. So for anybody who's not heard this podcast before, you will know that, or you may know that at furry conventions, because a lot of people have fursonas, or they have stage names, or they don't want their legal name on their badge.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to type in whatever you want to be on your badge. I suspect it's got a basic profanity filter or something like that, so you can't just type curse words onto it. But generally speaking, as long as you're within a certain character limit, you can put whatever you want on your badge. Most people put their fursona.
Mm-hmm.
You and I do not have fursonas.
Nope, I haven't found a name I liked yet. I'm probably never going to find one. Plus, I think I might just put like, oh, hey, it's them on my badge at some point, because that's how most people just refer to us, because no one knows our actual names in any context. It's great.
Yep. Yeah, to quote one panelist from a little while back, have you not learned their names yet? They change every con. But yeah. So it is just kind of generally worth noting that. So you also, as we mentioned earlier, buy both of our badges for this con. Which
so
means you get to decide what's on my badge.
Yeah, for me, I just put girl in a dress because I feel like that's an accurate descriptor of anyone who would need to know that, because I'm wearing elaborate ball gowns.
Yep.
Speaking of which, what was I wearing that day? I was wearing the, I did a lot of antlers this weekend because it goes with those costumes, and I did that, light green with the, 3D flowers on it dress with the train.
Yeah, that one.
This one had a big train, which is why I wore it on Thursday.
Yes. It's a fun one.
It is.
Yeah, you look very, you got a lot
I got a lot of compliments. I think I got the most compliments that day.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Sure. I wasn't keeping a running count.
Yep.
Maybe I just need one of those counter clicker things.
Uh-huh.
Right, somebody on the way to the dress. Click. Yeah, so you're wearing that. You look very good. You look very pretty. It's got a little bit of a train, but not too bad. Mm-hmm. So I was able to manage it without too many problems. But yeah, so and then my badge comes out, and the guy checking this in looks at it and just bursts out laughing, and I'm like, oh God, what did she do to me this time?
Keep in mind, they just checked your British driver's license. I went with a different style of joke this time. It was a hit.
Mm-hmm.
What did it say?
I'm Australian. It's a fun fact. If you're a Brit living in the US, a lot of Americans can't tell the difference between a British accent and an Australian accent.
Mm-hmm.
For the record, an Australian accent sounds like this. G'day, mate. How about we chuck another few prawns on the barbie, and then we'll, have a bonza time.
Mm-hmm. That might be the pharmacy. I'll double check. No, that's... I don't even know what that is. Okay.
Yeah, we also called them about your medication today.
Yeah.
That's not a...
Okay, yeah, so you're Australian.
Yeah.
Which was... A lot of groups got jokes out of that weekend, so...
Yeah, that one had, surprisingly long legs.
Yep.
Again, You said you started a spreadsheet list.
I think of new ones all the time, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna put them in the list.
Okay.
Because originally, when I put girl in dress, I'm just like, I could just make you guy in a suit. I'm like, nah, that's letting him off easy. I'm not gonna do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm just gonna put like a thing. I thought about putting I'm French, but I have a feeling you would have actually divorced me if I did that.
Again, here's the thing: the Australian one is funnier just because Americans do genuinely get that one mixed up.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, again, like as I point out,
people started referring to you as the Australian by today,
mm-hmm,
which was hilarious.
That's gonna be a problem in the future.
Like, and this is the thing is, like, most people were joking. There were a couple people who I couldn't tell legitimately, like, might have thought at some point you were actually Australian.
This is why every time somebody said it, I gave you the British two-fingered salute.
Yep.
But yeah. So yeah, so that process was about as smooth as it possibly could be, and we then walked down the line in order to head into the venue itself. By that time, they had actually started letting people in properly.
And that's when we first saw our registration friend who was doing registration.
Yep, who just spotted us, stood up quickly, waved, got back to their job.
Yep. And shout out to anyone who works reg at this con. Just Jesus. Registration is the trenches of the trenches.
Yeah, registration is one of the suckiest jobs at a convention because it's one of the places you're most likely to get yelled at.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of work, and it is not easy to do well.
Mm-hmm.
And their team was doing a phenomenal job this year.
We were also given the con book, which doesn't have a schedule in it, which I do sort of get just because of how big of a con it is. It's kind of hard to print it all. Especially
what ended up happening this year.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a really nice con book.
Yeah.
It's got poetry in it and all sorts. As I said.
And stories and art.
Yeah. Again, it feels like a mini celebration of the community in a way that's really great to see. I guarantee you, the people whose work is published in that are incredibly happy to know that it was in there.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that's that. Yeah, it's just kind of sweet.
Yep.
In a way that's really hard to define. Yeah. So yeah, so we got in, and this is the point at which we knew there was going to be a pretty big lull.
Yeah.
So you were commenting that this, is pretty much a day one of this con. I don't think it is.
Mm-hmm.
This still feels like a day zero to me.
Depends on what you like to do, because there are still as many people as there are the other days.
Yes, but Vendors Hall isn't open,
mm-hmm.
and in terms of events, there was very little on Thursday.
Well, I think part of it, last year, they actually did have stuff scheduled a bit earlier. That stuff, I think, starting at 2 or 3 as opposed to around 5 when it started this year. But I think they were worried about registration and didn't want to put anything in the early blocks in case it wasn't set up in time. Even though last year I thought it worked pretty well for them putting stuff in the early blocks generally.
I mean, again, if we panel again next year, just volunteer to run stuff early on Thursday.
I probably will.
Just Thursday afternoon. Because again, my only real criticism of the process on Thursday was just once we were in, and we deliberately got there, pretty promptly to make sure that we got through lines as quickly as possible, and we actually got parking. Because among other things, we had an Airbnb to check into, which meant we had food in the car.
Yep.
It was in a cool bag, and because it was a covered car park, it was actually perfectly fine in there.
Mm-hmm.
But if we'd had to park outside, I would have had to bring that cool bag in with us.
Plus, it would have been harder for accessibility, so we wanted to make sure we were parked in the general garage area, which we got parked there.
Yeah, we got parked there absolutely fine.
Mm-hmm.
There was still a reasonable number of spots left at that point, but if we got there a couple of hours later, there would not
have been. So
we did have a bit of a lull at that point of just not much to do.
Yeah.
Which we knew was going to happen. Yeah. We were prepared for that.
And I will say AnthroCon, and I think Teco is like this. Maybe Pittsburgh's just like this general too. Is over the course of this weekend, we had a lot of conversations with a lot of people. We can't really describe them all in depth, but I will say most of the law periods we were having conversations with people all weekend, which was awesome. But I'm not going to review a conversation unless it was particularly of note.
Because again, the community is generally just kind of full of mostly awesome people.
Mm-hmm.
Again, they had that Nazi problem a few years back, but I'll say this.
We're not explaining the furry Nazi problem.
What I was just going to say is the furries stamped down on that pretty dang hard, and they are a very welcoming, inclusive community. You will see so much rainbow and pride-themed merch, because and it's not made with the, corporate, oh yes, it's June, we are going to, sell a bunch of rainbow stuff to make as much money as we possibly can. No, these are people who believe in the message promoted by
Yeah.
that stuff.
I will say, as a hetero married couple, we're pretty strongly in the minority at this event,
Yeah,
which is fine. I
these
don't need.
events lean pretty queer.
Yep.
Again,
They are very much all ages, though.
again, as you pointed out, you are like, on the LGBTQ plus spectrum.
Mhm.
So am I.
Mm-hmm. Though, if certain people are listening to this, he's still very much straight. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry, not that part of the spectrum. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
You only got hit on like an average number of times for FurryCon this weekend.
it's a lot. As I pointed out, furry cons are the one con I get hit on more than she does. And for the record, I am straight. I am at least somewhere on the ace spectrum. But I genuinely do not have a problem if you want to flirt with me. I am flattered. I will flirt back.
Mm-hmm. Flirting is fun. I'm also very big on the flirting. It's just, it's not going to like probably lead anywhere without some more in-depth conversations, given that we're a married couple.
Yep.
So.
Some very in-depth conversations.
Yeah.
Like, despite her jokes about pimping me out to the furry community, like, again. But again, they are also a community that actually does value, like, respect and consent and all of that kind of stuff. They are very big on it, and I respect them for that. So, yeah. So, as I say, so we did effectively have a bit of a lull period in the planned events at that point. I think the first thing we really wanted to go to was at 5. So 5-hour gap at that point.
Yep.
Which did mean we had to chill and relax and we made some friendly small talk.
Yeah. I was in a massive ball gown, so I took a lot of pictures with people because there wasn't much else for people to do. So they took pictures with me, which awesome.
Yep. Yeah, we walked up and down a lot of corridors.
Over to the Westin.
Yep.
As a reminder, this building is connected by a sky bridge for the Westin, where they hold like secondary events. They have like a secondary event, kind of the second kind of largest room after Main is over there, and they're also their tabletop library and video gaming spaces are over there.
Yes, because the one thing I will say is the connecting sky bridge to the Westin is a bit weird to get to.
Yes.
And
this is not on the con. It's just a very weird building design decision that I assume was not originally meant to be this way, but because of the building was built in different parts, it wound up being this way.
Yeah, my guess is the sky bridge was added later.
Yeah.
But so if you're trying to get to the sky bridge, it's on the second level, but there's no way to get to it from the second level. You have to go up to the third level, across, and then do one of two things. You can either take the lifts down, which in this con are always going to be crowded, and there's usually a line to do them, or you can take the stairs. The stairs are inside the main events ballroom. Like, you literally have to go into the main events ballroom in order to get to those stairs. So what most events that are using both do is they will effectively, like, screen off at the door to create a little corridor to get you to that stairway. It is so weird.
Yep.
And you then go down those stairs. In all honesty, I don't think those stairs were ever actually intended for large amounts of traffic. I think those were intended to be emergency evacuation fire stairs.
Yeah, but
because they're not. They feel like emergency evacuation fire stairs.
Yeah, but realistically, at a FurryCon, so many people are going to be going that gap because there's stuff in both buildings that, unless you want to wait in the for an elevator for like 20 minutes, you have to use the stairs.
Yeah. So again, like, AnthroCon themselves handle this about as well as they possibly could. It's just a really weird building design decision.
Yeah. Oh, also, we forgot to mention the con theme this year.
Oh, yes. It's cryptids.
Yeah, and critters.
Yeah.
It's a very boring theme, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, let's face it, there was an active comment that, they've done this con theme like 6 times. Like, I get it. Cryptids are fun. Like, I'm not going to mention him until a little later, but yeah, we brought some cryptid-related stuff of our own at this con.
Yep.
But, like, it is very much one of those, you can do better, guys.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know what next year's theme will be. They will announce it, or they usually announce it at closing, but we are leaving before closing today.
Yeah, we decided to leave a little bit early because, one, we need an extra hour to record this podcast. We're not, like, how?
We've got an hour.
Well, yeah, but, like, we're not going to be done in an hour.
Oh, not even close.
So we needed extra time, and we wanted to get home, and for those of you who are longtime listeners, we are moving next week.
Yep.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I will admit I was a little bit disappointed with the theme just because we've only been in the furry community for like 3-ish years in any way, shape, or form. And I feel like I've already seen that theme multiple times. So, like, it's not a bad theme. It's just I would kind of want something else at this point. But, you know.
Like, you liked the Under the Sea theme last year.
I like the Sea theme. That was really interesting, and it's something I hadn't really seen as much before.
Yeah, and again, the sheer quality of the pun of "Rock Me Like a Furricane" from Anthro, Ohio this year was really great.
Well, that was also a theme I hadn't really seen before. It's just, I will admit, I also just don't really have that much interest in cryptids generally, despite a certain plush I brought. So
yeah. Again, but the people who like cryptids probably really loved it.
Yeah. So yeah, we kind of wandered around for a bit.
Yep.
I don't think we really did anything else before we went to the games room, did we?
Nope. Chilled out. Again, one of the things I always like to do anytime we go to a new con is just walk around the venue and get a sense of the space. It's less important for me if it's a venue we've been to several times before. Like, I don't feel the need to do this at the Columbus Convention Center, for example. But anytime we're in a new space or a space I haven't been to for a while, I will do a walkthrough because I like to know, among other things, where the fire exits are, where there is available water, all of the other kind of stuff. Because again, if you are I don't want to use the word carer. If you are somebody who supports somebody with a disability, there are some things that you want to be able to take off of their mental load in case you have to, and this is one of the things I try to do for you. If there is an emergency, I want to be able to say, we're going this way.
Yep.
Sometimes I manage it.
Yeah, I was commenting, I don't remember if I said this on the podcast generally, but I do think since our friend Betty was my handler for a little bit of Origins, it really did get me to appreciate, and not that Betty did anything wrong, but they were new to it, like how practiced at that you've become, just because of how good you are at navigating me through spaces and being spatially aware and knowing where everything is for me, and I really do appreciate that.
Thank you. Because again, it's the classic thing. If you're doing it right, they don't realize you're doing it at all.
Yep.
Like, again, you did not realize that I did that until I mentioned it, like a year ago for some reason or other. It wasn't even on this podcast. That was just a conversation we were having.
I think I was just asking about, like, why, because, like, for me, generally, and at this con, I will admit I was anxious just because if you have accessibility issues at this con, it is still, even if you know that they've done a good job in the past years, it's still kind of hard to trust it of just like, is it going to work this year? Is it going to work this year? And it did. In and out, 15 minutes. I didn't have to have any like triggering stuff happen to me. Amazing experience. But like once I've passed that registration process, that's generally at cons when I'm like relaxed, because anything that can go wrong concerning my disability is going to go wrong there. And when we're past that, it generally doesn't. So I breathe at that point.
Yeah.
Whereas for you, you need that initial walkthrough to breathe. And I think I actually ask you why. And then you're like, oh, because of this. And I'm like, that makes sense.
Yeah. Usually the point at which I've done that, like initial getting a sense of the space, done the walkthrough, and then we get sat down in our first panel, that's usually where I let myself like relax.
I do feel like we should acknowledge that, like, particularly big cons are very intense experiences, and this is, in terms of intensity, this is honestly probably the most intense con we attend.
Yes, it is. Like, here's the thing: Origins a couple of weeks ago was technically a bigger convention by numbers, very slightly. It was also a bit longer, but it's a different form of convention. Origins is all about a lot of small interactions because you're normally at a table of like 6 people playing a game with them. Whereas AnthroCon there's a lot more big stuff going on.
Yeah.
And that's not a criticism of either, that's just a statement of fact.
And I will say they both have about almost the exact same number of people, but
pretty close.
This con feels bigger.
It feels bigger, and there are 2 reasons for that. One of which is the layout of the convention center doesn't lend itself quite as well. Like,
it's smaller.
This convention center is reaching its people cap at 19,000, 20,000 people.
Origins can grow.
Origins can potentially grow. And the other thing is, Origins has very little costuming. Most people, like, they might have a themed T-shirt based on a game they like or something like that, but generally speaking, and there are some cosplayers, but there's not many. AnthroCon has a lot of suitors. So there are a lot of people who are in full fursuits, so you need to be very cognizant of that. Because again, like, with the best will in the world, I love fursuiters, they can't see worth a damn. Which means, as a handler, especially anytime you're wearing a dress with a train or a particularly large like hoop skirt that I need to be cognizant of, I have to be on constantly when we're in corridors in order to make sure that your dress doesn't get damaged. No, you don't like collide with the suitor in a way that causes a problem. Like, there are a lot of things that can potentially go wrong that if I'm doing what I do properly, and and any handler who's with a suitor is doing properly, you barely even realize I'm doing.
Mhm.
So that's kind of how I feel about that.
Yeah.
But it does make it a very intense experience.
Yeah.
Intense does not mean bad.
It doesn't mean bad. I think it's also there's just a lot of different types of people at this con. Like furries don't really have a unifying like personality type, which is awesome. Whereas at game cons, like everyone's the type of person that we're hanging out with is generally a type of person who like is typically like working professionals between their like the years of 25 and 50 years old who like tabletop games.
Yep.
And it's just broader and way more different at AnthroCon, and all those people are really nice and want to interact with you, and that's awesome, but it's a lot different. Does that make sense?
No, that makes complete sense. You've kind of got to pivot your brain a lot faster.
Yeah. And again, people in all stations of life are really awesome people, and it's nice that furries have that broad reach, and we've met so many cool different types of furries.
We have. Because again, that's also the thing. Like, we occasionally comment on the demographics of conventions. I genuinely feel like furry might have one of the broadest demographics.
It does.
Like as we said, the steampunk cons tend to lean a little older. The sci-fi cons tend to lean a little older. The anime cons are aggressively like 19 to 30-year-olds. Whereas furry just kind of runs the gambit in a really fascinating way. But yeah, so that was basically what we did initially.
Yeah. And then the games room, or the back section, which had the games opened a little bit later in the afternoon.
2 p.m. specifically.
Yeah. Your comment on this, I suspect that just happened because they had to, like, obviously, I don't think anyone or very few people were allowed in the convention center before 12 generally, probably some staffers, but not many. So I think they had to spend 2 hours setting everything back there up and making sure it was set up. So.
Yes, I suspect you are correct on that front.
So we randomly kind of went down there around the time it opened just because it was kind of a scrum of people around there, and my claustrophobia, which is a very big part of my disability, kind of does get set off a lot at this con, and we have to monitor it pretty carefully. So we hung out upstairs.
Yeah. Next to one of the headless zones, and I'll say this: they had a lot. They had, I think, 5 different headless zones at this convention. And if you're not familiar, a headless lounge is a thing most furcons have.
Yeah.
Where any fursuiter and/or their handler can go in order to cool off.
Yeah.
So they can take their head off. They can get some water. They will have the AC in that room cranked up. They will probably have a bunch of fans blowing. Like, the point there is to make sure you don't get heat stroke.
Yeah.
Some
fursuiters also don't feel comfortable taking off their heads at all in public spaces. Some do, some don't. It's just kind of a different thing, but it allows them that space, which is especially important because hottest weekend of the year, whatever the bizarre headline thing is now. So.
So they had a full-on headless lounge. Which was a pretty decent-sized room, and then they also had several headless zones, which were like curtained-off areas with a bunch of fans and other stuff. Like, as we've said before in this podcast, we don't go into the headless spaces because we are not suitors. But the fact they had that many of them was, I think, a very good decision this weekend. Yeah,
and I will say, during this day when we were exploring, I had to keep sitting down a lot and drinking water. Like, I was not outside for that long, but I was definitely already kind of feeling the effects of how bad it was. So I felt better by, I think, around the time we were in the games room, but I think my body was just like, we need to sit down and get liquid in you.
Yep.
Which I did do, and I did appreciate the free water stations in both buildings that allowed me to do that.
Yes. Yeah, there was a reasonable amount of available water, which is good, because the one major thing I will criticize the David Lawrence Convention Center for is the pricing on your food and drinks is garbage. I checked. If you wanted a bottle of Pepsi, it was $6.50. That's ridiculous. So yeah, like you can buy a 6-pack at the store for that much, and you guys are definitely getting wholesale prices, so you're buying it a lot cheaper than that. So yeah, that's just naked profiteering. But anyway, so we went into the games room. We sat. We played for a little bit. What did we play? Oh yeah, we checked out Wavelength. One that we like to play with each other sometimes. And then a few people asked if they could perch on the end of our table.
Yeah, they asked if they could perch on the end of our table. I was cool with that until I saw the game that they were playing, which is Secret Hitler, which is not a quiet game that you can share a table with.
Yes.
So, but they were learning how to play the games. I don't think they really realized that yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, to just kind of make the best of that situation, I just volunteered that we would play with them, which we did.
Yeah, we basically said, do you mind if we join you? And they're like, yeah, sure, more the merrier.
Yeah.
Social deduction game, generally speaking, you're looking for, I think it officially runs 5 to 12 or something like that.
Yep.
So we helped get it set up. We started playing. Another person came over and said, did they mind if we all mind if they joined? We said we're currently in the middle of a round, but you are welcome to join in the next one. They said that's absolutely fine because Secret Hitler, generally speaking, takes about 15 to 20 minutes.
Yep.
The box says 40, which maybe depending on how...
You can't... This is the thing, is a lot of social deduction games devolve into, yelling and gaslighting each other. If you really want to go the full fare and just do that for 20 minutes, you absolutely can.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're playing at a table with, strangers and learning how to play the game, you're not going to do that. And I will admit, I actually do really like playing social deduction games with furries because I find they tend to be really nice when they play.
Yeah, there's none of the, there's no real recrimination in them, because that can be a problem with some social deduction games. And again, Secret Hitler, if you're not familiar, is basically, it's your standard hidden role game. So there are two teams, the good team and the evil team. One of you is designated, so you get an envelope that tells you which team you're on, and one of you also gets a card that tells you are Hitler. And the evil team are trying to pass fascist policies, the good team are trying to pass liberal policies, and if you successfully pass a certain number of policies, depending on the game size, then one team wins, and there's some other win conditions.
Yep.
Specifically, if you are halfway up the track of fascist policies, then and Hitler is elected chancellor, at that point the evil team just flat wins. So it's a fun little game. It's definitely not my favorite social deduction game, but it's solid, and I had fun playing it with that bunch.
Yeah, we played it for about 3 hours, or 2 or 3 hours. So it gelled well. Everyone was super nice to each other. There was one person who was being a chaos gremlin. That tends to happen sometimes.
Yeah, it was just I was on the good team, but it passed an evil policy because why not?
Yep.
Because the main thing that causes wrinkles in the game is
there are more fascist cards than liberal cards, so sometimes even if you're a good player, you'll be forced to pass fascist policy.
The president, who just rotates around the board, picks 3. They then pass 2 to their chancellor, so they can discard 1, and then the chancellor plays one of those. So,
one guy wound up being Hitler 3 times in a row.
That was so funny. Again, in the penultimate game, you and I were on the evil team, and that guy was our Hitler.
Yep.
And then somehow, in the last game, the setup was
exactly the same. And we were just I had to look, because there's a point when you're on the evil team where you open each other's eyes, because the evil team knows who each other are, but Hitler doesn't know who they are. And I just looked at you and I legitimately had to stop laughing.
Yeah, you and I just got, because I volunteered to be the one to give the instructions during the night phase, because all you really need is somebody to basically say, okay, everybody close your eyes, Hitler, raise your hand, not like that.
It's a good joke if people got it.
Evil players who aren't Hitler, open your eyes, look at each other, make sure you know who each other are, make sure you know who your Hitler is. Everybody close their eyes, everybody lower their hands, everybody open your eyes. It's not complicated. You basically just need one person to be the person giving the instructions, just so everybody's doing stuff at the right time.
Yeah.
Because otherwise there's confusion.
Yeah, but I am going to call this out because I didn't have the heart to during one of the games. I think it was the first game where there was a group of 4 friends, and then somebody else sat down while we were playing the first game and then joined in. That person during their first game said, you sleep really well. You look really cute when you sleep. And I'm like, your eyes would have had to have been open for that. I'm just going to ignore that. It was just kind of a nice, slightly flirty remark in a way.
I didn't hear them say that.
I did, and I'm like, you realize what that implies, right? Your eyes were open, so.
So yeah.
But that was the game where I think I got the power to shoot people, and I just shot you because, duh.
Yeah, I was Hitler in that game, so you instantly won as a result. But yeah, so again, this was fun. I'm glad
Yep.
we did it. You know, it ended up being a good like warm up for the rest of the con.
Yeah. So then there was opening ceremonies at 5, but I didn't want to go to that, so we went to Furry Scrabble instead.
Yeah. Opening ceremonies at AnthroCon is massive. Like
Mhm.
their main event space is huge, and you know, getting your disability accommodated in the main events can be a little tricky.
Mhm.
Not because anybody's not trying, just because figuring it out and you know dealing with it is a lot. So I don't think there was one thing we briefly went to in the main events this year. Like last year, we weren't in main events at all.
Yeah.
Um, and that's not a problem.
Mhm. Just not to our taste generally.
Yeah.
Plus, they have a lot of dances, and we don't tend to like the dances. So.
Yes, I'm not a rave music person. No offense. Like, again, you guys have fun. You guys do you.
Yeah.
Dance on, you crazy fireworks. But yeah.
So we went to Furry Scrabble instead.
Yep.
One thing I really do love about AnthroCon is there's a lot of furry game show enthusiasts generally, and I really like game shows. I think I might have mentioned in the podcast before because when I was growing up, I was very, very sick and didn't have a lot to do. Sort of. That's a long story.
Yeah.
So I watched a lot of game shows growing up.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I very much like going to game show panels with you. Sometimes I will participate.
Mm-hmm. And I like that they all have different styles of game show hosts. There's like the way that Iggy does it, which is very like chill and very low stakes. Like it's something that for which if you're a little bit like don't like pressure, you can definitely play in Iggy's games and just have fun without having to like, worry about trying too hard or not, which I really like about his style. There's others who really like build it up to make those moments kind of epic. There's others who like do kind of a hybrid type of thing. Like all of them have this really cool style, and it's neat to see all the different ones.
Yeah, there are some who do an excellent job of just recreating the actual experience of being on one of those game shows. You know, like they are doing a very good, like, not necessarily impressions of the original host, but like matching the style and energy of them, so you have that feeling of participating in a game show, and it's just really cool and fun to see. So yeah, so Furry Scrabble there was apparently a TV show version of Scrabble a while back, and this is based on that. So it's trivia combined with actually no, there's no trivia in this one. This is like putting letters into words. They'll give you a clue about what the word is, and then you kind of like you have to figure it out.
Yeah. And they have like creative clues. So like it's meant to be like a play on words type clue generally.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of an example. My mind's blanking.
So this was several days ago, and we're already on like 12 hours of sleep across this entire con. That's not a joke. Yeah. We already got 12 hours of sleep across the last 4 days.
Or it's just like, this person is sure a fun guy, and it's mushrooms the answer. Stuff like that.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
Yeah. And if you get the like way that the questions are worded, sometimes you can guess it very early on, but you get letters, and then you have a final round where you basically have to spell out words by choosing letters. It's very fun. It's very simple. And they did vary a lot in terms of what prizes they were giving away. This one was giving away just Amazon gift cards.
Yep.
Some of the game shows do require you to donate to charity to participate in them. Others don't, which is fine. As some of you might know, due to the housing stuff, our charity budget right now is just currently zero while we're doing a lot of moving money around. So I'm hoping starting next year when stuff gets a little bit more stable, we can have a charity budget again.
Once we're stable and once we've been paying the mortgage for a little while, we actually know like what our, know for sure what our outgoings are going to be and our budget's going to be. Sorry about that.
I hate the American medical system.
Yay. Pharmacies. Ugh. We're not going to talk in detail about that.
I want to, but I won't.
Yeah, this is not the complaining about pharmacy podcast.
Yeah. Basically, somebody fucked up. And I don't care that that's our one F-bomb because it deserves to be.
No, that's allowed to be our one F-bomb. Yeah. Hopefully, Well,
you said it was getting fixed tomorrow.
It's getting fixed tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, so what was the where were we?
We were at the end of the day Thursday before MST3K.
Yes.
So there wasn't much to do, so we were basically just hanging out in a chair for a bit.
Yep.
And this was in the West End for MST3K.
Yep. Yeah, because that was after Furry Scrabble.
Yep.
Yeah. So MST3K is the movie panel. You watch a bad movie, you riff on it. There are a bunch of people on stage playing a drinking game and getting drunk. It's a great time.
So we hung out in the hallway for a bit because we'll talk more about this for Friday, but like for whatever weird reason, they decided that the policy for that room in the West End was they were not going to open the doors until exactly the moment when the event was scheduled to start, which is not a smart policy.
Nope. They were also clearing it in between events, but
we'll talk more about that in a second.
We'll talk more about that.
I'll save it for that part.
Yes. So yeah, so
we did a few things in the hallway. We talked to a few people who I think knows from other cons, which was fun. I took a picture for somebody who's like had a like on-site printer and handed me like a printed photograph, which was very sweet.
Yeah, that's great. Like that. I don't think it was the same person who got the one of you in the
Yep.
You know, the monarch butterfly dress last year, but it's, you know, similar vibes because again, some furries are just really into cameras. Yeah, that's cool. But yeah, so and then we saw a friend.
We can say Iggy.
Yeah, we saw Iggy.
So yeah, Iggy was scheduled. Like I knew Iggy was going to be at this con. He's sometimes on MST3K. I didn't know if it was going to be today. For those of you who are longtime listeners of the podcast, Iggy was looking for a kidney and finally got one, and this is his first, I think, big event where he's out after that.
Yep.
He's still definitely dealing with a lot of medications and stuff like that, but he's definitely on the upswing, and obviously his doctor approved him to attend a 20,000 person event. So.
Yeah. Like, he's looking good.
Yep. So yeah, he was behind me,
and
I like gasped and was really excited.
Yep.
And you were just like, hi.
Yep. You were clearly trying to figure out if you could ask for a hug or not.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to because I don't know, like, he was wearing a mask at the time, so I didn't ask because it was...
Yeah. Again,
he might still be immunocompromised because you have to be on immunosuppressants after organ stuff, so...
Yes. But, you know, hey.
It also might just physically hurt him because I don't know how his abdominals doing, so...
Yeah. So, yeah, like, it was really goddamn good to see him.
Yep.
Like, you know, we had been concerned up until, you know, the surgery actually went through. Like, a lot of people in the community generally. Yeah, he's a good bloke. And it says something that, like, the website he built to help him find a kidney, iggylands.org, incidentally, you know, he is now pivoting into being a space where members of the furry community who do need help, you know, finding organs can use it for that purpose. And I really respect him for that. Like, he's trying to take the good thing that was given to him and pass it along.
Yeah, he's already succeeded. Like, I don't want to give him credit alone for this, but the person he was looking for, or the next person on the list who was hoping to find an organ, has a scheduled surgery date. So,
yeah, so it's that I'm half expecting that to become a very big thing in the community in the next, you know, couple of decades. Like, I think it'll take a while, but I think it could actually end up being a very good thing.
Yeah.
And I respect him for making that decision to, you know, try and pass on the goodness. So yeah, because, you know, kidney donation, not an easy thing to do, but, you know, at one point he got an entire audience to shout a thank you to the guy who donated it, which was great. So yeah.
And I know we did matching donation also, which is basically somebody volunteers to donate to you, and if they're not compatible, they match with somebody else. And you actually can get like 8 or 9 person chains, or even longer, of people who are all donating.
I think he said his chain was about a dozen people.
Yep.
Of just, like, you know, effectively passing organ, to all intents and purposes, passing organs from one person in the chain to the next until you know, everybody's got one. That's it's a really cool process that works really quite well. This weather is being weird.
Yeah, it's just weird sun showers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I also found out that he right now currently has 3 kidneys because they haven't taken the old ones out yet, which I feel comfortable sharing because he shared it on a stage with like 100 people.
Yeah.
So, I didn't know that they did that at separate times, but it does make sense. You would probably want to make sure the kidney's in and working before you take the other ones out, just for safety reasons. So.
Yeah. Which, of course, led to a lot of people asking what he's going to do with the old ones.
I asked him that. He definitely wants to keep them.
Yep. Well, again, you can. Technically, once they're out, you know, like, most hospitals will not keep them, but you can ask to have them. You can fill in just a form that says you want them back when they're done. Because again, some people keep them for religious purposes or, you know, other reasons. Everybody's attitude is you should donate them to a charity auction. Which,
that was your suggestion. Literally, no one else said that.
No, I was not the only person who made that suggestion. Okay. I promise. But yeah, here's the problem. If he does that, they're going to raise an uncomfortably large amount of money. Because furries are weird, and it would be the funniest possible option. So yeah, but yeah, so it was damn good to see him. And at that point, we did MST3K.
Yep.
Which again, it's a great time.
Yeah. I will admit on Thursday in particular, I think I was just a little bit ill. But I was having fun.
Yeah. And yeah, the movie this time was Gremlins 2. Which apparently the guy who directed Gremlins 1 wasn't massively keen on doing a sequel. So at least in part, gave the studio like a slightly ridiculous budget number in order to make it happen. And then they gave him that budget. And like every time they gave him a note on the movie, he took it to its logical extreme. Like, oh, we think there should be more Gremlins. Okay, here are more than would actually be practical to put on screen, but we made it happen anyway. Okay. What if this thing happened? Sure, we're going to take that to a logical extreme. Like, it is such a weird movie.
It is. At some point, mimes get out of a van. If you're wondering if there's context for that, there's not.
Nope. That is the extent of the context. A bunch of mimes get out of a van. There's an entire extended bit where the Gremlins break out of the movie and like damage the movie projector and have to get told off by Hulk Hogan in order for everybody to be able to go back to watching and enjoying the movie. This is just a thing that happens.
And during it, they said that the second one was like a forced sequel, but like they literally said, like the studio forced us to write a second one. It's not as good as the first one. Like that's a literal line in the film.
Like it's kind of an incredible watch if you're curious. Robert Picardo gets sexually assaulted by a gremlin.
Yep.
And then gets into it.
Yep. There was a little bit of confusion over the secret rule this time, but it honestly just made it more funny. So. Because in addition to, like, when we got in the room, both Alkali and Dragor, which is super nice, because I haven't seen Dragor in like a year, both gave us hugs and stuff like that. I saw Dragor earlier in the hallway. If you're not familiar with Dragor as a... Is it Dragor or Drago?
Dragor.
Okay, that's what I thought. If you're not familiar with Dragor as a... person, they generally wear, like, tight bodysuits in, like, a pup hood for all their stuff, which is cool. But I saw somebody in a tight bodysuit and a pup hood, and I wasn't 100% sure it was them, because that's actually, honestly, a fairly common thing that people wear at these cons.
Yeah, it's not the most, yeah.
But you were, like, checking out to see if we could get out a certain exit, and they, like, walked by me to bench, and I don't remember the pronouns, I'm going to go with they. They waved at me, and I waved back at them, and I'm like, I think that was Dragor. They're the same height as Dragor, and they walk like Dragor. It's probably Dragor.
Yeah. Yeah, then later they're like, hey, nice to see you, you know.
Yep. And they commented, I saw you earlier. And I'm like, yeah, I know, I saw you too, but I wasn't 100% sure it was you until now.
Yeah.
So.
Which is valid.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that was, so MST3K, good time. It was a 10:30 time slot. So, yeah, we were at this con late.
Yeah. Yeah, they did put a lot of stuff more late night this year, so.
So, yeah, we were at this con for long time.
So Dragor was in charge of the secret rule, and because they had a big audience as you would expect, there was nothing else on, he didn't actually whisper the rule to everyone. So halfway across the audience, it kind of turned into a different rule because somebody misheard somebody else. So there were kind of two rules happening.
Yeah, which was great. Like, this panel is supposed to be chaotic.
Honestly, it made it harder for them to guess the secret rule, which made it funny. So
I really respect their guest who was there from Brazil.
Yep.
They drank a truly impressive amount.
Yep. Also, the charity was there, and the charity attended a lot of events.
They did. Those poor fools.
Yep.
Because, yeah, FurCon's are very, very big on their charity.
Yep.
So, yeah. So, that was the last thing we did that day. It was midnight. In fact, it was after midnight by that time. So we got in the car and we drove to the Airbnb, which was less than a 10-minute drive away. It was about 8 minutes, just on the other side of the river. Nice, good. Go inside, start to get checked in, and that's when we realized the Airbnb we booked for this one, we specifically booked, because we knew it was going to be hot this weekend, we specifically booked one with central AC. Yeah.
They really should change the app to no Airbnb.
Yeah. The AC weren't working.
Yep.
Like, it was just flat not working. It was nearly 80 degrees in that house.
So I think I mentioned this in the Colossal Con episode, is I really, really hate it when Airbnbs claim to have air conditioning. This is a surprising amount of them in our area, because most Airbnbs are just converted buildings that they can't rate out to as actual apartments because they're not up to code. So they just stick like window units in them generally.
Mm-hmm.
And like, they're not like, this is the thing, is now they've replaced all the good window units with these like $25 things you get off Amazon that barely freaking work most of the time and can't clear more than like a tiny little amount of space and stuff like that.
Yep.
So I'm tired of dealing with that, because a lot of places will only even just have one in one room. It's not good enough. And I already knew this weekend was going to be hot. We did book before the heat wave was even forecasted, but I was even more appreciative. And like, the reason I chose this one, central air conditioning.
So, yeah, so I sent them a message about that, but obviously it was like 1 a.m. when we were getting in. So, that was not going to get responded to until.
And we were both exhausted. I was sick, so it just kind of devolved into us kind of yelling at each other for 20 minutes. But I feel it's important to talk about that, to understand that part of a healthy relationship is sometimes yelling at each other for 20 minutes.
Yep. Because, like, we were both just really frustrated and wanted to go the heck to bed.
Yeah.
But, like, you did not think you were going to be able to sleep unless it cooled off.
Yep.
So, fortunately, because they did have those window units, they weren't good window units, but if you closed the doors to the bedrooms, cranked them up as high as they would go, it did cool off the bedrooms at least enough that we could sleep. But, it was not a good situation.
Mm-hmm.
They the next morning they did message me to promise they'd send around a maintenance person.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I never got a follow-up on that, but by this morning, the aircon seemed to be, it seemed to be the temperature it was supposed to be, but I can't tell if that was just, it was a little cooler the night before.
Mm-hmm.
So that was not what we needed that night. So we have been kind of commenting to people about that all weekend.
Yeah, well, we deserve a right to complain, but some people are commenting that air conditioning in Pittsburgh just kind of sucks generally, and that has been the case. I'm pretty sure that every single Airbnb we've stayed in does not have decent air conditioning.
I think the one we were at last year was okay.
No, we didn't. We were literally in that tiny one that cost $150 for the entire weekend last year and had like 2 window units.
Oh, that one, yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right.
But it was $150 for 4 nights, so we're not complaining.
That's incredibly cheap. We paid more than that this time, and I'm not gonna lie, I have asked for a partial refund.
Oh, have you already done that?
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Yeah, I did that earlier today. I basically did it as part of the checkout process.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't escalated it to actually contacting Airbnb. I've just messaged the landlord.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had a chance to look to see if they've got back to me on that one yet. But
yeah, it's fine.
Said, just knock the price of that first night off, and we'll call it even.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see what they say about that. But this is the problem with Airbnb.
Yep.
They are not really held to any actual standard. But if they are lying on the thing, or a service they promise on the list is not there, you can sometimes get Airbnb to cooperate. Mm-hmm. But who knows? I'm going to try.
Anywho. We woke up the next morning.
Yep. Got up, got dressed.
Yep.
And got over to the con.
Yep. I was wearing a new Tutu Omatoshi dress and my antlers.
Yep.
And I had my new Build-A-Bear plushies I got from their Ocean Line collection that we were carrying around today.
Yeah. Which are very cute.
Mm-hmm. And you were dressed in your same steampunky-esque outfit. You forgot your coat this weekend. I don't think you missed it much.
Nope. Yeah, I forgot my steampunk coat at home, but in all honesty, just walking around this con in a white shirt, and a brown vest and trousers, it's actually a good look for me.
You hit on a lot.
Yeah, I was. Again, I don't mind. Please feel free to keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to go anywhere, but that's not the point.
For the record, I'm not stopping that. I just want to be clear. You have my full support to do what you want with anyone.
I know. It's just, yeah. Again, I am both straight and partially ace. Nothing's going to happen, but that's fine. So anyway. So, what was the first thing we did on Friday?
I went to Iggy's kidney panel.
Ah, yes, we did.
So we got there a little bit earlier than that and kind of walked around the convention center for a bit because, again,
parking.
Parking.
Yeah, this was the first day when you could just register on site, and I do know that some people, but they sold out of badges.
Yep. They sold out of weekend badges, I think, on the Friday because they'd have some on-site registration, but I think you had to be there within the first hour to even get them.
Yeah.
And then they had day badges you could purchase every day, but they sold out of those, I think, on days before because I think people were just going in on Friday to buy Saturday badges, which understandable.
Mm-hmm.
So, thankfully, we're not part of that chaos.
Yep.
And I also know there were still people in line when they had to close the line down because all the badges were gone, which I'm sure was not a fun experience.
Yeah. Was this the day we were doing the thing?
Yes, this was the day we were doing the thing.
That's what I thought. Yeah. This was the day when friend of the podcast was there, or was supposed to be there.
We can say Lynn's.
Yeah, we can say Lynn's, that we actually have the information. Yeah, Lynn's was supposed to be at this con with some friends of theirs. Unfortunately, the friends did not buy their badges in advance, which means this, as a group, they got, I think, 2 badges between the 3 of them. And because this con was particularly important for their friends, Lynn's donated the badge they'd got in line to one of their friends. So they ended up without a badge, so they couldn't attend the con.
Which was very nice of them, but Yeah,
I feel bad for them. Like, it sucks. So they...
And we were helping Sam out with an activity a little bit later that related to that was a little bit chaotic, but everyone does it differently.
Yep. We'll talk about that when we get there. Yeah, we're about 15 minutes from home at the moment, so let's kind of keep going, and we'll get to a convenient point.
Yep.
So what?
We went to Iggy's kidney donation panel.
Yes. So Iggy's kidney panel is pretty much what it sounds like. Previous years, because this has actually been on the schedule for a couple of years. Previous years, it's been Iggy talking about the fact that he needs a kidney. This year, it was more about the process of getting a kidney. They had somebody on who has donated a kidney themselves in the past, and they were just kind of talking about all the process and all of that kind of stuff. And again, this was a fun little... Okay, fun is the wrong word. This was an informational panel about the process, and I respect them for doing this. You okay?
Yeah, sorry. Thought that sentence was continuing. That's all.
No, that was the end of the sentence.
Okay, sorry. I just thought you had more to say about it because sometimes you go on like a very long spiel about like what each panel is generally. Yeah. Like I knew a lot about this already because I do bioethics, but I think I still don't know all of it, obviously. And there was a lot of interesting things that I learned. Because one thing that's always interesting to me with organ donation, and this is a very interesting ethical question, is to what extent should people who donate organs be compensated for it? And it's actually a very complex ethical question to ask, right? Because if you have them be full out paid, then you do have the problem of the fact that organs are only ever going to go from poor people to rich people, and that is a pretty big problem in terms of equity in society generally. But if you don't have it paid, like even if they try to make the process like as safe for you as possible, as they definitely should. Iggy said he was told we're going to care, when he was getting his kidney, he was told that the donor would always be the priority over him. And he understood that, right? Because you don't ever want anyone to be afraid of donating an organ because something really bad happens to them.
Yep.
So they take it very seriously.
Of course they do.
But even in those circumstances, and they do obviously pay for the surgery and everything like that, you're still going to have some like recomp issues because like for most people, you'd have to take time off work to be able to do it, and it would be very difficult to do. So there's a lot of complex questions surrounding that.
Yeah.
In the United States at the moment, like it's not legal to compensate people for it, but you can fundraise or crowd raise donations to help with expenses and things like that.
Yeah. So, for example, if your donor needs to fly in, you are perfectly allowed to pay for their plane flight. Or like pay for a hotel to put them up in for a few days, that kind of stuff. Like that's all stuff you're allowed to do. You're just not allowed to pay them directly.
I do know other people who get around it by other ways, basically by having some other type of transaction. How ethical and legal that is varies. Like some people will like purchase a small object at a like large price from them or something to basically offset it.
Yeah,
it can be harder to track and stuff like that.
Yep.
But I'm sure I did it ethically, and it was a lot of fun. What did you learn from the panel?
Mostly I was sort of amused by the fact that, so the person who donated actually flew to one of the Scandinavian countries, I want to say Sweden, to donate their organ to somebody over there. And they then had, like, they flew over, did all of the medical stuff, then had to fly back to the US and then fly back over because that's a thing the Swedish, I think they said Swedish government, requires in order to prove that you're not, like, being basically kept, in somebody's basement and being forced to give up an organ. You have to prove that you can leave the country and come back on your own recognizance.
Yep.
Which it.
I understand it.
Yeah, we're in the wonderful world of I get it, but at the same time, I feel like there are better ways to handle that. But yeah.
I mean, I get that it's kind of hard to prove, so.
So yeah.
But yeah, 12 donation chain. In addition to Iggy, somebody else whose name I will admit I don't remember was there, and who we don't have permission to say, although I do think they're kind of a name in a furry community. They do VR stuff, and they donated their Iggy organ earlier to someone else just kind of voluntarily.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they were the person who flew to Sweden.
Yeah.
And again, it was the person they met on VR chat who they gave it to. So, and again, I don't know if that was a chain donation or if that was a direct one. But,
I imagine the rules in Sweden are different. Yeah. This is the other thing about organ donations is that if you think there's like one international like database of this stuff, there's not.
No, not even slightly.
It's very chaotically organized.
But again, okay, so my mother used to work for the NHS. She's since retired. The NHS is the British National Health Service, in case you're curious. And she worked for their IT department. Trusts, which is the individual like sub areas in the UK, their systems are bad at talking to each other.
Yep.
And those are all subsections of the same organization, just like different counties. If that's bad, how bad do you think it is trying to talk to other country stuff? Especially as, like, there was a quote from her at one point where she went to a conference, and she was talking to some Americans who were in a similar field, and 80% of their computing power at that time was given over to billing, which is not a thing that is ever a concept you have to worry about in the NHS. So, it's different priorities for different healthcare systems and how they handle it.
We just passed a giant sign that said Dave's Guns with a Z at the end.
How have you never noticed Dave's Guns?
I think the sign is due. No, that's there, but the sign's new. It's like a giant sign.
It's been there a while.
It hasn't. We never drive this direction.
I drive it more than you because again, we are passing where our like local Walmart and Aldi and all that kind of stuff is. So I drive it more than you because I do more of the shopping.
That's fine.
But yeah. So again, this was a good panel. I'm very glad Iggy is one, alive, yay, and two, continuing to like work to spread all of that like goodness that they got. Like, I'm very glad to see that.
Yeah, and I do think promotion of this in the furry community is a very good thing because it can get more people potentially comfortable with doing it.
Whether they go to furries or anybody else. What was the next panel?
UU Game So Spectacular.
How did you just pronounce it?
I don't know. I think U Woo is cute. It starts with a U. U Woo.
There we go. So yeah, Uwu Game Show Spectacular.
Uwu.
This is again being run by the Game Show Furries.
Yep. This is kind of their big collaborative thing. Where they're all just kind of doing different games together and combining them into one big game, and it's like a game show gauntlet.
Yep. So you could get tickets for this one. Was this just regular tickets, or was this the one where you had?
I'm pretty sure you had to pay for this one.
Yeah, this is the one where they were asking for, I believe it was a $5 donation to the charity in order to get a ticket to potentially play. Fine. I am perfectly happy if they want to make that their sign-up rule. In previous years, I think we have done that. This year, again, tighter budget this year, so weren't able to do that.
You generally put like $10 in or something, because it's like, I think $5 a ticket. You can buy more, but we normally just put 2 in, because...
Get one each.
Yep.
Actually, can you buy more?
You can.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you could or not. And then they call out the numbers, and there are 3 games initially, which are different, 3 different game shows. The first one takes 2 people from the audience, the second one takes 2 people from the audience, the last one takes 4 people from the audience, and then all of the people who played in those previous games get together for Family Feud at the end.
Yep. And then after that, there's for I think the winner of the winners team, there's then a game show gauntlet that you can do, which is basically just asking trivia questions.
Mm-hmm.
They get first introduced to hold flags to show when you like pass from one trivia question to the other, which is very cute.
Yep.
And then when you get to the end, which they barely managed to do, they were somewhat helped by tech problems. The mics this year, again, great AV team this year, but the mics this year were definitely a little bit demonic.
A couple of them were.
Yep.
Mildly possessed.
So yeah, because when they get near the speakers, there's a lot of interference because they were moving around the stage at that point. The mic interfered towards the end of the game show gauntlet, so they added 10 extra seconds, and that let them get it.
Yeah.
But it meant that more money was donated to the charity, and it's for charity, so who cares?
Who cares?
Yeah.
Again, this was fun. I very much enjoyed this. Again, they had basically a different host for each of the game shows. Yep.
And I like the multiverse of game shows. And Iggy was there for a part of it, but I think he was starting to feel a little bit sick just because he was doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
so.
Again, he was the host for the first of the games.
Yep.
And then he capped not too long after that.
For understandable reasons.
Whether that was, it's also entirely possible he just had something else he had to get to. Because, again, everybody was busy at this con. This con is completely nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for any of the, the big well-known talent. It's a busy con for them. So So again, this this was a lot of fun. I'm very glad we watched it. Do we have too much more to say about it?
I love the furry game shows. I will admit I don't think I remember quite now all of the games that they played.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Family Feud.
Yeah.
And there were a couple ones they did earlier that were lesser known game shows that were interesting.
Yep.
And they had fun contestants, and I like that everyone got to play multiple games, so that was fun. They had one that was name 7 things. All of these were very old and less popular game shows. Mm-hmm. There was one where you had to either challenge or name a thing, basically.
Yep.
So it was dog breed or most popular dog breeds or something, or Saturday morning cartoons. That was fun.
Yep. There was one where you were attempting to find words in effectively a word search. So all of the answers to the questions were up on the board. Mm-hmm. You just had to find them. So you, 1, had to know what the answer was, and 2, you had to find it within the word search.
Yep. And most of these events, members of the charity were there. They were there for a surprising amount of stuff. Mm-hmm. So.
Oh yeah, the charity was just kind of going around and seeing stuff.
Yeah.
I think they were having fun. Shine on, you crazy diamonds.
Shine bright like a diamond.
Yep. So what was next?
I'm trying to find it. Vamp for a second.
Again. The other thing to note that's actually interesting is the DLCC has 2 rooms that are lecture style with tiered seating, and they tend to like to put as many of the game shows as they can, especially the game show first group, into one of those rooms, which does work very, very well because it means everybody can see the screen. You've got that sense of being a part of a tiered audience, and it works really, really well. I'm glad they use those rooms for those things because I think it's a good fit for them.
Now, I will admit this started to be the start of the problem when there were multiple things happening at the same time that we really wanted to do because the schedule is so jam-packed.
Yep.
Because there were multiple game show panels I wanted to go to, Chain Reaction or Price is Right, but that was opposite open mic, which was what we actually did next.
Okay, that was an open mic next, was it?
Yep.
Cool. Was that really 2 days ago?
Yes.
Oh, God. I don't doubt you, for the record. That was not I think you were wrong. That was oh, God, my brain is fried. This is a long con. So, open mic. This is a panel run by Alkali, and you can tell how much he loves this panel.
Yep.
So, open mic is exactly what it sounds like. It is a stand-up comedy panel. You go up, you and members of the audience go up, they get to do some comedy, and they have up to 5 minutes.
Yep.
But as Alkali says, if you wanted to come up, tell a knock-knock joke, and sit back down, you are allowed to do that. Basically, at about the 4-minute mark, they'll kind of stand up and indicate to you that you should start wrapping up. And as they say, if they can tell you're right on the cusp of finishing and time ends, they're not going to interrupt you. Yep. They're going to let you finish the line. But they can't have you going over too badly. Yeah. And for the record, everybody stuck to their time.
Yep. I mean, I was slightly over, but again, I thought it was pretty close to 5 minutes, if I was honest.
You were still under.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was giving you a 1-minute warning.
Okay, sorry, he was just so close to me that I think it might have just been because he thought I couldn't see.
Yeah. Yeah. That was your 1 minute warning.
Yep.
But yeah. So it's done by random draw.
Yep.
Specifically, you go up and get a playing card. And then the corresponding playing card is put into the hat. Specifically, it's done by color. So red king.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the red king. Red king goes in the hat, and you hang on to that card. And so and again, I got a card for each of us, as we usually do.
Mm-hmm.
And the way we usually do that is if one of those cards comes out of the hat, we have a very quick discussion between us about which of us wants to go up.
Yeah, it's really just depending on how we're feeling that day. Because again, you get both cards for us. We don't really like assign one of them to each of us or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like I think the first time you just went up, and then I think that last year we both did or something. I don't really remember.
Yeah, I definitely remember you doing it last year because I remember what your opening line was and how much it murdered Alkali.
Yep. I also murdered Alkali this time by making fun of him.
Yes.
So
again, he's very good at playing that, like, oh my god, I didn't see that joke coming, like, facial expression for the crowd.
He is very good at amping it up and because the thing is, like, he knows the trick of comedy is laughter is contagious. So if he's laughing, other people will laugh.
Mm-hmm.
But this was a lot of fun. There was a lot of different jokes and a lot of different comedic styles this year.
Yeah, at least one person came up, gave a crone-worthy, impressive pun, and then sat back down and was like, good on you. Like, that was a perfectly executed joke.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we will need petrol.
I was thinking we could pause the podcast once we're done reviewing this, once we get home, get Emma, and then go to the park.
Yeah, sounds good.
We are a high-quality podcast.
We are a fabulously high-quality podcast. So yeah, like, this is just a very, very good, fun panel.
Mm-hmm.
I do love it when we both get to perform.
Yep.
We did both get to perform at this one.
Yeah, which I'm very happy about.
Yeah. And again, like, I always feel bad for the people who don't get to.
Mm-hmm.
But we got through more than we were expecting to because so much as we love, like, Alkali, he's
and
not
company.
very good, and company. They're not very good at keeping track of their schedule.
Yep.
They tend to forget how long the panel is supposed to be.
Yep.
So at one point, Alkali made a comment about needing to wrap up soon, and I just kind of like, I don't like, Alkali, you've got like 40 minutes left in the panel. I was like, oh, okay, I thought they only had 10 because he thought the panel ended half an hour earlier than it actually did.
Yep.
So we got through a bunch of extra people, which was great. Yeah.
And they do quote-unquote critique you, but it's 90% them complimenting you.
Mm-hmm.
Last time I had Alkali, this time I had Boozy doing it, and Boozy loves to... For whatever reason, Boozy's like comedic timing with us is just to stare at us and give us glares until we glare back at him. I don't know why that's become like a thing that we do.
Yeah, but it works.
It works, so...
So yeah, again, you told a story related to your family.
Yep.
It was one of the less horrifying ones. So good job.
Generally. And I got to do an audience participation thing by raising my hand up and down.
Mm-hmm.
It's mostly because my family has both like actually problematic things in it and things that are just kind of kooky. And you need to separate those two things. Mm-hmm. So I had them play like a game. And I had them practice the game because, again, education, profession.
Yep.
So they got the game down with facts about Alkali. So.
Yep. Yeah, what was it? Was it valid and cool?
Yep.
Or it's like valid. Cool.
Valid is actually an acceptable thing. Cool is just something you're kind of going along with because you don't really have a choice. So.
Yep. Yeah, and then I told a story based on look at the ducks.
There's all four of them.
Yay!
I'm so happy.
Yay! Aw.
This is the
makes
saga
no sense
to anyone.
Trust me, there are currently 4 ducks on the lake, and that's a very good thing.
Yes.
Okay. So, and yeah, I did a stand-up set related to a night out I had in York. Technically, I cheated. It was actually 3 different nights out that I combined into one event.
Yep. But that's kind of how you do comedy, and
yeah.
you can like amp up things to tell the stories and stuff like that.
Like no part of it was untrue.
Mm-hmm.
I just implied they all happened in kind of one rapid succession of events, whereas they were actually slightly more spread out.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it was funny. People laughed. You seem to think I have a decent stage presence.
You seem very comfortable on stage, which Alkali always remarks on generally. Like you don't seem to get nervous the way a lot of people do.
As I was saying to you this morning, my nerves are very interesting insofar as I get very nervous in the build-up to stuff, if it's important stuff. While I'm doing the stuff, I'm usually fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then if there's like a consequence of the stuff later, I will get nervous again. So like, if I'm taking an exam, I will get nervous just before the exam starts. Mm-hmm. Once I open up the exam and start doing it, I'm fine because I know I'm there and I'm doing everything I can. And then when the results come out, I start getting nervous again.
Mhm.
Whereas with this, doing stand-up like this, if our name comes out the hat, I don't have enough time to be nervous.
Yep.
And if my name hasn't come out the hat, I don't know if I'm doing it yet, so I'm fine. It's weird.
Yep.
But, it kind of works out for me. So.
Birds.
Yeah. But no, so again, I love this panel. I love it when we get to perform. But even if we don't, even if one of our names doesn't come out the hat, or if neither do, I still have enormous amounts of fun with this. Just watching people get up, do stand up, talk, tell jokes, do all of that stuff. It's just fun.
It's fun. And yeah, I think the first year neither of our names got pulled from the hat, and that was okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think one year Uncle I did it by hands, but I think that's mostly just because he forgot to bring cards.
Yes. Okay, we are home.
Yep.
We are going to do we're going to unload the car briefly.
Yep.
Get the dog, and then get on the road to somewhere else so we can keep talking about this event.
Yep.
So, back in a sec. Bye. And we're back.
We're back, and we have a minor Airbnb update. I have no problems complaining about this.
Oh yeah, so so I requested a refund of that first night, given that the air conditioning that they advertised didn't work. And I'm still not convinced it was working at all the entire weekend. I think a combination of the window units just made it cold enough, and the fact that it just chilled off a bit, made it cool enough to be okay. Yeah, so they have offered us a refund. In fact, they've already sent through the refund for $20. They have given us a 20% off the first night.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this one's getting escalated. I really hate Airbnb landlords. And it did take a brief tangent. This is my least favorite kind of Airbnb landlord. The one who very clearly owns multiple properties.
Yep.
In fact, when we checked out, or when we were getting ready to check out, we got the standard automated message which Airbnb sends. Just a reminder, here's your checkout time, all of that stuff. And we also got one from them. This is not a problem. I do not mind landlords having a standard message set up that basically tells you what their checkout instructions are. And the instructions themselves are fine. But one of them explicitly listed that, if we needed to extend the stay, we could reach out to them. Or, and if that particular place wasn't available, they had several other available for rent that may be available. And I'm like, great, you're just one of those Airbnb landlords who owns a bunch of them.
Yeah. Airbnb is mostly people buying foreclosed homes and filling them with IKEA furniture. That's most of what it is.
Yep.
But unfortunately, I need it for my accessibility stuff, so we're stuck here.
Yeah. As you said, sometimes morality and practicality come into conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Airbnb is a terrible company, but sometimes you don't have a choice.
Yep. Well, you using a service that you kind of have to use because you have a disability is not an unethical thing, generally.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean the Airbnb landlords are ethical, generally. And generally, landlordship is a problem, generally, because it's part of a feudal system and a capitalistic system, but that is way too much. That's too far of a diversion. Let's get back on track. Anything else you want to say about the comedy panel?
Again, I just adore this panel. My only real criticism is that it's not long enough for everybody who wants to take part to have a go.
Wanting a panel to be longer is always that way.
Yeah, I would love everybody to have the opportunity to do it, but I get, again, they've only got limited panel time, and Eli's a wee bit busy.
Yep.
But
especially at this con.
There was one guy we've seen the past couple of years whose card unfortunately didn't get pulled this year.
Mm-hmm.
Who actively came up to us afterwards and wanted to talk to us about his planned set.
Yep. Which is very sweet. He wanted to talk to us, so.
We got complimented a couple of times by other people, after the panel and actually throughout the weekend.
Yeah, we got one today. Which if somebody's remembering your set 2 days later, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. What can I say? I'm a memorable drunk, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Because, my story, like a lot of stand-up comedy stories, involve alcohol. But yeah. And again, you're just a really elegant storyteller.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I hope so.
I just have British smarm and confidence. Granted, at some point you could tell some of the really horrific stuff just to see how Alkali reacts.
What you were starting to say a compliment, then
Yes.
it deviated into that?
Yes.
Thanks.
Yes, it was.
Are you going to circle back to the compliment now or not?
Again, you are somebody who, I've said before, you take a little while to get comfortable. Once you are comfortable and you know you are safe, you are an incredibly charming, good storyteller. And you've reached the point with AnthroCon where you know you are safe on that stage.
Yep.
Which means, among other things, you will tell stories from your childhood that are kind of problematic.
Yeah.
It's not you doing the problematic stuff, it's just problematic stuff happening around you, but you know you are safe to tell those stories there in a way that will make everybody laugh. And I adore you for that.
Thank you.
See, I can compliment you.
You're definitely very good at that.
Also, hi, Emma.
Yep.
Are you vying for attention because you are dog? And we hadn't seen you for a couple of days and you missed us.
So after that, we had Iggy's game show for guinea pigs. I don't even know how to describe this one.
Iggy's Game Show for Guinea Pigs is a game show that Iggy invented himself.
Yep.
It's a combination of several different things. So the basic way it works is there's a Rebus puzzle.
Yep.
And if you haven't seen a Rebus puzzle, Google it. I do not know how to explain this. Hidden behind a series of squares.
Mm-hmm.
And then you play various mini games to remove those squares. And once you've removed enough of the squares that you can see enough of the puzzle that you can solve it, you solve the puzzle, and that's how you win the round. That's an accurate enough statement.
That is, what is? The game, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the mini games are generally, it's like a pictogram where there's a bunch of different pictures that generally represent video games. I think he's done video games the last few times. And you have to name what game it is, except they're all incredibly obscure games.
Yeah,
I actually knew one this year that you didn't.
Yep.
Because they were edutainment games. And as a child that didn't have parents or supervisions or people that loved them, I played a lot of those in stores because I was just left on my own for extended periods of time.
Mm-hmm. She's not joking.
I'm not.
As I said, there are parts of her childhood she could talk about on stage that would make a lot of people cry.
Yep.
We're not doing that.
That's cool. They just leave you at a store for 5 hours and they only have the demo portion of the games. You just play that over and over again.
Yep. Love you.
Love you too.
God, your childhood was bad. So anyway, but yeah, so you didn't actually have to name the game, fortunately. Each of them was numbered and you just had to give the number of the game that was relevant to.
There's one about pricing items, I think, that are just very random stuff that you found on eBay, which is a variation of another panel.
Yep, there's I think it's ripped from the headlines or something like that, which again is based on recent news stories.
Yep.
Which Iggy likes looking up moderately obscure news, which means that most of the time they're stories that other people haven't heard but are at least funny.
Yep.
So yeah, fun times all around. And again.
And then there's a Wordle panel, basically, that everyone hates. Because when you're on con at a stage, your brain just doesn't want to work on Wordle.
Yep. Again, so Wordle's concept is sort of taken from an older game show.
Lingo?
Lingo,
yes.
Thank you. I was blanking on it. Which again, and that's what this panel is officially based on, rather than Wordle. But it's a lot of fun. Again, Iggy's somebody who gets as many volunteers as possible. So basically, you get to do a board. You get to do a board, and then he calls for more volunteers. So you and I, you and I got to do one. The other people ended up winning that round. Good for them.
Yeah.
Because they got. I think you and I solved one more mini games, but they are the ones who solved the puzzle at the end, which is the defining factor. And hey, great for them.
I've always felt so comfortable at Iggy's game shows that I really just don't care about winning in any capacity. I'm mostly just there to do funny stuff, and I love them, so.
Yeah.
And he always relates them to the con theme, too, which I appreciate.
Yep.
Even though he was kind of commenting that they've done this con theme a lot.
Yeah. His comment was he started to run out of cryptid-related material because they've done this con theme several times. So yeah, game show for guinea pigs is always a good time. I believe the intention, because usually when he does this, he has two guests.
Yep.
And then basically they form, they each take, one side of the table, and then the volunteers from the audience team up with a guest.
Yep.
On this one, there was a lot of guests not turning up to panels they were supposed to at this con, which there usually is an AnthroCon. It's their crew of entertainers at this con are run off their feet.
Yep.
And
they're often also double booked because
Mhm.
the schedule doesn't even do that. And there were, I think, a couple like scheduling snafus at this con generally.
Yep.
So it's hard for them to like get people to show up reliably.
Yes. Yeah, but again, like this is an event, where he can just, if his quote unquote celebrity guests are there, all
Yeah.
he needs is, 2 extra people in the audience each round. It's fine. Like, it's not a problem.
Honestly, at this point, I honestly would just recommend we reach out to him and volunteer to be special guest on some of his panels because we know them well enough that we can do it.
Yep.
And also we'll be guaranteed to be there. So when
Yep.
you message him, maybe you can mention that generally.
Yeah, I probably will do. Just be like, oh, by the way, incidentally, if you need this, let us know. We're happy to do it. No pressure. Like,
We know we're not as famous as your other special guests,
Yeah.
but
or even heck, if you just want us as backup options.
Yep.
We'll happily do it. So, yeah. We need to stop volunteering for stuff at FurCons.
I love volunteering for stuff at FurCons.
Yeah, I know.
I also feel like I want to volunteer to just be like the talent schedule person. Like, to be clear, this is not like my excuse to interact with any of their like talented comedians or stuff like that. It's mostly just I want to be the person who's telling them when they need to go where.
Mm-hmm. It does feel like they kind of need one of those at
Yeah.
this point. Plus, you think it'd be funny bossing Alkali Boozy around. Just like, go here now, go.
Well, like
Now,
half the time
go.
they're like, when does this panel end? And half the time it's me shouting at them when it ends.
Either that, or if it's a slightly louder room, you tell me to shout it at them.
Yep. Well, this is the thing when we're in the bigger rooms and stuff like that, just because your voice is deeper than mine, it tends to carry further. So I tend to ask you to shout stuff for me when we're in a crowded room when I want the suggestion to be heard.
Yep.
Like an angry llama.
Yes. There is context to that statement. We'll probably forget to mention that specific thing later, but it's fine.
When somebody takes your suggestion and takes no more suggestions after it, even though it's the first suggestion, you know you've won.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. As we go around this corner. So, yeah, again, game show for guinea pigs, always a good time. Very much enjoyed it. What was next?
I had it up a second ago. Oh, next was Iggy's Improv Hour, which was also with Iggy.
Yes, but it was in a different room.
Yes.
If memory serves.
And it was like, there was a half-hour break, so I think they went off to probably cool down and take more drugs, because they need to take a lot of drugs. These are not illegal drugs. These are...
medically prescribed drugs.
Yes! That have been medically prescribed to him, because kidneys, so...
Yep.
So Iggy's Improv Hour was supposed to have other guests at it, but I think Chris was the only one who showed up.
Yep, this is Chris the Comedy Bunny, who, again, that name is on the schedule.
Yeah. We did have a slight snafu with this one insofar as the previous panel in the room overran its time slot by over 30 minutes.
Yes, so every panel at this con is nominally tagged to end 10 minutes before the half-hour mark. So, for example, if it was a quote-unquote 1 hour panel, it would start at like 9, for example, and was officially slated to end at 10 to 10. So that if there was another panel that was immediately afterwards, there would be enough time for switchover. A lot of them had half-hour breaks between, and some of them also had hour breaks in between. And at quieter times, you might have longer breaks. Yes, the ASL panel beforehand was still going about 20 minutes after their official time slot ended, so 10 minutes after the half-hour mark. And then they were just kind of hanging out, chatting, which I get, but it was reaching the point where it was becoming a problem because we were trying to sit down for the next panel because we wanted to make sure we got good seats. And in particular, this was a panel where I was trying to drop you off because I had to go and run and help some people with something else.
Yep.
And as a result of the fact that there were a lot of people crowding around the stage, I couldn't really drop you off because your claustrophobia was not having fun with that situation.
Yep. So we just kind of waited. They did eventually clear. This wasn't, learning how to do sign language panels. I do think there were a lot of connections that were being formed there. And I do get if you're part of a disabled community, it's kind of nice to find your people. But I wish there was a little bit more order restored there of getting people out of the room. And Iggy, I think, is just too nice to tell anyone to leave.
Yep.
And also is probably thinking about something so esoteric that he hasn't even noticed that it's his panel time slot if they're still talking there.
Yeah.
And I say that with very much love.
Yep.
So that happened, and then I sat down. You had to run off to go help film a proposal.
Yep.
Which we're not going to talk too much about because that's more of a private thing, not a public thing.
But again, I agreed to help with that, so I made that happen.
Yep.
Remind me, I still need to upload the video.
That's fair.
Because, again, the Wi-Fi at the Airbnb also wasn't great.
And because no one else was there, one person who I didn't know but claimed to have RP experience asked Iggy before if they could just perform, and Iggy was like, sure, because I don't think he knew what else to do. They seemed perfectly nice, and I was kind of told to help.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't say, do you want to, but it was like publicly in a room full of people, and he pointed at me, so.
Well, the thing is, we've been roped into Iggy's improv hour before.
Yep.
Yeah, we did it at IFC?
Yep.
Yeah. That one we at least knew in advance that he wanted us to be. This one, I think it was just a case of the other guests didn't turn up and he knew you could do it.
Yep.
I would have also very happily volunteered, but again, I was busy helping with something else.
Yep. Yeah, I wish you would have been up there with me because it would have been even more fun.
Mm-hmm.
And they also included some audience participation games, I think, to also kind of fill out the hour mark and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I got to do a couple fun ones. My favorite is the one where you like read from lines from a book.
I could tell how much fun you were having with that one.
I love that one.
So if you're not familiar with this particular improv game, one person is improving in a scene. The other players in the scene, usually 2 or 3, in this case 2, have books to read from, and they are allowed to say anything they like as long as they can find it in the book. Technically you could just look at the word and go, I.
Yep.
You can do that. But if you are stringing more than one word together, they have to be written in that sentence, in that book. So what was the book you were using, honey?
I think it was like an instructional computer manual or something similar to that.
I think it was something on like business processes or something. Yeah. But yeah, because Iggy has a very interesting repertoire and collection.
Yeah, it was called
books.
On Time at No Cost because I said that like 4 times.
Yeah. And what was the other person reading from? Oh yeah, was it
It was The Origins of the Species by Charles Darwin.
Yeah. So again, the books you got were pretty esoteric and weird, which means the sentences you were saying to Chris, who was of course the person who was doing the main improv.
I like reading from the book, and I also knew Chris would make that big and dumb because she's very good at that. So.
Yep.
They.
I don't know what Chris's pronouns are.
We'll go back to they for now.
We'll go back to they for default, but I should. This is the thing. It's one of those things. I'm just kind of too awkward to ask a lot of the time.
Yeah. And keep in mind that AnthroCon is the bigger con. So even though we see Boozy and Alkali and Iggy at other cons, Chris I've pretty much only seen at this con. They probably do other conventions, but I don't know which ones. And they are, I think, just a legitimate professional comedian in the local Pittsburgh scene who does for cons as more of a side thing. Because they're very, very good.
They are
honored to be on the stage with them.
Yeah. So again, they are completely unhinged, but in a way that is very, very funny.
Well, as somebody who is Chris is somewhat femme presenting. I don't know if they identify by femme pronouns, but going big in a femme body is really, really hard. It's harder than in a male body.
You're not wrong about that.
And the fact that they have it perfected so well is just huge tribute to them.
Centaurs. Anyway, but yeah, so this was a lot of fun to watch because the thing I needed to help with, I got back at maybe 1:15. So I just grabbed a chair and watched. I had great fun. I got back in the middle of so one of the games that Iggy likes to do, because Iggy likes longer form improv.
Yep.
Which again, great. It's a lot of fun to watch. Is one in which the performer, there is one member of the group who sits in front of a screen and has to give a news report or a press conference about something, and the other players are asking questions, kind of leading them in the direction. With a lot of them, they'll just give you they'll just take a topic from the audience for it. In this one, when Iggy does it, he really likes to get video compilation footage. So this particular one was Macy's Day balloon disasters, or Macy's Day but it's the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade
balloons disasters. So I think right before you came in, they were doing Chris and I were asking them questions, and they named the name of their reporter, and then my reporter didn't have a name, and then I was like, I just want you to know my name is Macy as a clue. And I think the person who was actually answering the questions didn't fully understand how the game was being played at first a little bit, which is fine.
Yeah.
But they got there eventually.
Oh yeah, it always takes a minute to
and it is, I'm sure, harder. I'm pretty bad about picking up out of the context clues if
So again, like it was a lot of fun to watch. I think everybody had a blast. I had fun.
Yeah.
I had fun from the audience. Hopefully, you had fun on the stage.
I did. Yeah. And it was honestly in some ways nice that I felt very comfortable on that stage for the most part, despite kind of having a small claustrophobia attack beforehand. And the fact that I was able to feel comfortable on the stage without you there was like a really nice thing.
I get it. Yeah, next.
I'm working on it.
Who's a good puppy?
Emma's a good puppy.
Emma is a very good dog.
Right, let me get back to the schedule. Anything else you want to say about that for a second while I try to figure out where we are? There's
Sure.
a lot of events on. Give me a minute.
So I will take the opportunity to talk about the process of navigating the convention center, just because, again, like, I had to basically leave you, sprint out the convention center, go down to the waterfront, because that's where the thing I was helping with was taking place. And getting through the convention center at that point was starting to get a little hairy. I'm pretty lithe and nimble, and I managed it without too many major problems. But if I'd had you with me, given your fashion sense, it would have taken probably a good 10 to 15 minutes to get over there. Whereas I could do it in 5 by being on my own. And yeah, sorry she wasn't able to make it to the event, Lynn's, but
it wasn't anyone I knew, so it was a little bit more me being there would have honestly just been kind of more conspicuous anyway, since I was in a giant ball gown. I didn't really want to be upstaging a proposal, so.
Yep. Again, it was very cute. It was very fun. And again, it did let me say. So, people have mentioned the tunnel. I didn't actually know where the tunnel was.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, I knew theoretically. I'd just never been in it.
Mm-hmm.
And this was down right next to where one of the entrances to it was.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we don't tend to go out. There's a lot of very pretty area around the convention center because it's nearby the waterfront that we don't tend to go on because I'm in a massive ball gown and don't want to be outside.
Mm-hmm. Also, again, by this point, it was like 95 degrees.
Yeah. Also, at some point today, I think it was maybe before Exhibit, it was some point, we went into the dealer's hall for like a small amount of time.
Yeah, we went in for like a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Because there was one particular item you were interested in.
Yep.
That we ended up not buying just because there was a massive line for that.
This is a very, very popular item.
Yeah.
So
but we'll talk about it when it arrives. Because what we ended up doing was, rather than wait in the line, we basically, now that we knew which company made it, we were able to order one online.
Yeah. Which hopefully we get, because they did sell out of the one that I think we purchased, but we might just ask them for a different one anyway. So we'll see.
Yeah, if they say, all right, again, we'll figure that out.
Yeah. Good woof woof, Emma.
Hi, Emma Bean. Did you miss us this weekend? Joys of a small dog. But yeah. So what was after Iggy's improv hour?
We pivoted to the West End for Furry Jury and began the amalgamation that was that night's adventure in the West End. Yes.
So, the West End Hotel, as mentioned before, is where they have their secondary main events.
Yeah.
They just call it the Allegheny Ballroom because that's what it's officially called.
Yep.
But this is where they host their, not main events, but secondary events. Like, this is big stuff.
Yeah, it's effectively main events for people who don't want to go to the dance stuff, because main events is taken over by the dance in the evenings.
Yes, that's a pretty accurate way of describing it. So a lot of chairs, big screens, powerful speakers, all of that kind of stuff. Like, it's a good space, and they do use it very, very well. The problem is that for whatever reason, last year the doors were just open, like basically the entire weekend. You could go in and out, and you could sit. Like, there was at least a point last year where we definitely sat in there for just like an hour because we needed a cool, quiet place to just clear our heads. Whereas this year, they were closing the doors between events. They were actively asking people to leave between events.
Yep.
And frequently those doors were not opening until sometimes after the official start time of the panels.
Which was cutting into the panel start time, and also, like, that hallway is just not set up to have people in it. Like, outside main events in the regular ballroom, there's a massive hallway over there with lines on the ground that are actually like lines with different lines for accessibilities.
Yeah.
In the West End, there's not physically enough space in that hallway to contain that many people.
Not even close.
There's no place for anyone who has accessibility needs at all.
The air conditioning doesn't work in that corridor because of the way the space is designed.
Yep.
So
There's also the main elevators on the other side that people use to get to all of the floors because there's a hotel for it, and there's the access to the stairway to the upper floors is on that level too, so people have to crawl up to get past that. So it's this massive, massive safety hazard. We were not the only people who were complaining about it.
Not even close. So yeah. So the corridor was a mess.
Yep.
I don't know who was making the decision that everybody needed to leave in between
I'm pretty
events.
sure it was one person.
I think it was one person.
I'm obviously not going to call that person out. I don't even know who they were, but I do think it was one person.
Yeah.
And this person, I think, was working on I don't think they were working con security or anything that should have been in charge of making that decision. I think they were on AV. So.
And again, so I think their attitude was we need to clear the room so we can do setup.
But setup for most of these events is moving chairs off the stage.
Yeah. It's stage manipulation stuff that you don't need the room cleared for. And unless you are actively messing with the places where people in the audience are sitting, you don't need to clear the room.
Mm-hmm.
And clearing the room was causing problems.
Massive ones. Because it's not necessary. That room has pretty much always been an open room, generally. Because the nice thing about that also is, like, in previous years, just because the doors were open, at times where there was nothing going on, you could just go there. Because how the room's designed is there's a stage and there's some chairs around it, and then in the back of the room there's, like, tables that you can just sit at if you want a little bit more space or need a little bit more space for some reason that have more circular designs.
Yeah.
And, like, in times when events aren't going on, people would just go in there and just, like, politely hang out for a little bit because there's not a lot of seating in the corridors or main space. And it's a great, like, if you're not a fursuiter and you are somebody who has claustrophobia or disability, you kind of do need to find those quiet spaces at cons, and that was a really great one.
Because for one thing, the aircon in there was phenomenally good. Like, it was chilly, but in a way that was really nice compared to the corridor outside that was uncomfortably warm.
Yep.
And again, that's not that corridor was never intended to be a space where people congregated for extended periods of time.
Yep.
But there were several points in this weekend, because they were kicking people out of the room, that it became that.
Yep.
And that was a problem.
And I can understand clearing rooms for certain things. Like if you had a dance competition there and needed to move chairs, that's obviously valid. If you had something like AnthroCon tonight, which has like 100 performers, all of whom you need to spend an hour coordinating, giving directions to, it probably is easier to do that with less people in the room. Yes. But if it's a panel that requires pretty much no setup, they don't need to do that.
Yes.
And we did witness that slightly later after for jury.
Yeah. So should we talk about Furry Jury?
Furry Jury.
So we got into this one. I'm trying to remember, was this... No, it was later when we did the thing where I went in without you, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. So
No, you did it that time.
Did it that time?
They weren't letting people into the room until right at 7:30, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So there's a back entrance to this that basically I pulled up a chair and just hung out around the back entrance while you were hanging out and I think talking to a very nice couple, you said?
Yeah, so I talked to a few different people, including somebody who we'd seen earlier that day performing at the stand-up at the open mic. Lovely to talk to you. Now, I complimented him on his performance. He complimented me on mine. It's just a very friendly, welcoming community. And then, a couple who were, I think, they were either sponsors or maybe super sponsors. I don't remember specifically. Yeah, I don't know if we'll get that much reward when we get there. We'll see how much.
As long as we get ice cream, I'm fine.
Yeah, that's fair. And they were also agreeing with me how bad this decision was.
Yep.
Because again, we reached actual official start time of this event, and the room was still closed.
Yep.
They eventually let everybody in, and they did say ADA first. And one thing we didn't mention about the check-in process is they had.
I would turn the lights on until we get out of the rain.
Cool. And they had additional things you could attach to your badge at this con, which were disability stickers. Interestingly, they gave me one as well.
Yep.
And I did clarify that I was your handler, effectively, and they said, nope, that's fine, you still get one. They're like, okay, interesting. Because normally at conventions,
it's raining really hard right now, sorry.
No, you're fine.
It's not going to last long, but I'm worried about it.
Again, sun showers. Yeah. It does not pick up on the mic, I've told you before.
Okay.
They basically said, nope, handlers could have one as well, because sometimes I need the same accommodations you do.
Yep.
In terms of skipping lines and that kind of stuff. So this ended up working out quite well, because basically we secreted you around the corner on the other side.
Yeah.
On a chair that we acquired. And then
Yeah, I don't know who moved that chair out to the corridor, but thanks, I guess.
yeah, that ended up being useful. But yeah, so and then once I got inside, I basically just called you and said, "Come in," and you came in through the other doors. Because again, like with your claustrophobia, you can't stand in a large crowd like that.
Yeah,
it's not. It would have triggered multiple panic attacks, and that's not something we wanted to be dealing with.
Yep.
So yeah, so I grabbed seats.
Yeah, which I really appreciated, because generally ADA will let you bring somebody in with you, but you do kind of have to be there, and they have to be there with you. So allowing us to have this system of like you basically going in and saving me a seat was really, really nice.
Yeah, and the fact that as a carer, handler, whatever you get to call me in this situation, like the fact that they basically just gave me a sticker as well was super useful.
Yeah,
thank you for that.
Especially since because of how like different this was to previous years, and these were decisions. There was somebody who was, I think, making the top-down decisions, and I think there was another person in the room who thankfully really cared about ADA, who was trying to make sure that the ADA people were at least being accommodated by this person's decision. But we had no way of knowing that. So, like, had you not had that sticker, you would have had to wait to go in with the rest of the group, and we might have gotten a seat that met my needs. So that was a really nice thing that ADA did.
Yes. Again, like, the ADA access at this con has actually been excellent.
Yes.
It's just this one, whoever was making the decision to close the ballroom and throw everybody out, it was the wrong decision.
Yep.
Don't do it next year, because you were creating a pretty bad fire hazard in that hallway.
Yeah, and there wasn't really a reason to do it for most panels, and you're creating a fire hazard. It's not accessible for disabled people. Like, we are thankfully, I think, in a position where we're better at dealing with it and self-advocating. But if this was our first furry convention, we wouldn't have known any of this.
Yeah.
And it would have just been really hard for us.
Yeah.
And also, it's making all the events start late.
Yep. That became a problem at a couple of points. So yeah. So Furry Jury.
Yep.
This is very clearly Boozy's pet panel.
Yep.
I know QM does a lot of the the work behind the scenes to make it happen, but I suspect the original idea was probably his. Maybe it was theirs. I genuinely do not know. But the basic principle of this panel is it's a mock trial. So for whatever reason, Boozy always ends up as the prosecutor. I think that's because the person on trial is usually the comedy character of Cousin Kage, who is a very obvious like riff on Uncle Kage. And they do a trial.
Yep. I do want to shout out it's Boozy's spouse QM, who basically writes the entire thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, did you say that?
I
heard Boozy. I didn't get QM.
So. As I said, I think it wouldn't surprise me if the original idea was his, but I know that they do a lot of the work to make it happen.
Yeah. I think QM basically writes the entire thing. Keep in mind, it is an improvisation panel. QM writes a case and gives them evidence and like lines they can say and stuff like that. But it's part that, it's part improvisation.
Yep.
I will say this one I just went full hard with like objecting to Boozy's objections and pointing out flaws in his logic from the audience because I was bored. So
bored is a strong word in this context.
Well, like I looked it up and I was right about multiple points.
Yep.
Like for instance, just because a RA or staff member has the right to walk into your dorm room, one, they have to give you notice, and two, even if they don't have to give you notice, that doesn't entitle cops to search your dorm room without search and seizure. Further, if that set a precedent, that would imply that, because most rental contracts have that, anyone who rents a property allows for effectively anyone to, search their property without a warrant. That would be a horrible precedent to set.
Yep. Nice. So,
sorry.
No, you're fine. Like, again,
I will admit, like, I would love to do this,
yeah.
but I don't want to, like, horseshoe myself into something I'm not ready for,
That's fair. I maintain if you're down to perform next year and want somebody to play the lawyer opposite Boozy, get her to do it. She'll be fantastic. But somebody else told you that this weekend, which was hilarious. But yeah, so this panel is fun. I enjoy it. Like, they do a gag where they set up a bunch of chairs stacked atop each other, and Alkali has to sit on top of it as the judge. And it's interesting. Sparf, the con's event director, usually plays Cousin Page. I suspect he wasn't available this year.
There was a slight... Yeah, well,
this was when the thing happened.
In fairness, I knew Iggy was playing the other lawyer because he was very excited about it and telling us at all his panels.
Yeah,
awesome.
he was looking forward to it all day, and he did a great job.
He did.
Well, I think he did the reading.
Yep.
Um,
Also, like, I think, like, cousin Uncle Kage couldn't actually make it to play himself during this panel, so they just had Boozy play him, and he, of course, just admitted to everything.
as I say, it's Sparf who always plays Cousin Kage.
Oh, yeah. I thought Sparf was a lawyer last year.
Nope.
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
frequently it's the good boy lawyer,
Sorry.
who is an actual lawyer,
That's fair.
who plays the other lawyer. Whereas I suspect they just weren't coming to the con this year.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Yeah, and they have various other people play.
Sorry if I repeated something you just said. I'm also trying to keep the schedule in context.
Yeah, I know, I've got it.
Okay.
Yeah, like, again, Uncle Kage doesn't do this panel.
Yeah, sorry.
You're good.
So, yeah. Boozy playing them, just admitted to everything.
Yeah, just repeatedly, for the most comedic way possible, admitted everything.
Yep.
But this is another one of the panels where the final verdict is determined the way that everything in the American legal system is, which is who has the most money.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, the audience gets to put in charity donations for conviction or guilty or not guilty, basically. And they, whichever side donates the most money is the side that wins. And I was very pleased to see the defense won that one.
Well, like, I knew once he admitted to everything, they weren't going to not give it to the defense, because, like, why wouldn't you not at that point? It's too funny to have somebody get off after admitting something on stage.
Repeatedly.
Yep.
Yeah, again, like, this panel is a lot of fun. It's always a little chaotic, but I very much enjoyed watching it. Even if you do like to quibble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was whispering counter-arguments to you the entire time.
Again, you're a philosophy professor. You are, like, you are trained to argue in a professional manner. Like, as you pointed out, lawyers and philosophers are trained in very similar ways, to the point where, incidentally, if you're thinking of going to law school, majoring philosophy is not a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it will train you in the right kind of ways to get into law school and to be a lawyer once you're there. There's a lot of that thinking process. So yeah, this was fun. So there was an hour break between the end of Furry Jury and Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yep.
Sorry, Whose Lion Is It Anyway? It's legally distinct. So we were like, okay, they're going to do the stupid thing and close this room and kick us out.
Which they didn't for about 30 minutes.
Yeah, like, we were in there for, and they did not do that. We're like, okay,
There was
cool.
no announcement. There was no anything. There were people milling about the room. Like, there was at least 20-ish people in the room. A couple sitting up just relaxing, all of whom had ADA access, by the way.
Yeah, several of whom had ADA access. There were a bunch of people at the tables at the back. Like, generally we were like, okay. So we were just kind of chatting to some of the other people. And then, with about, after about 35 minutes,
a new group of people just walked into the room, and then that person's like, oh, I should tell them that the room is closed again.
Yeah,
even though people were sitting in there the entire time, and I think they just legitimately forgot to do that.
Yeah, so they announced, oh, this room's actually closed to all staff. Everybody who isn't staff, please get out. I don't think the words were please get out. I think they said, I think it was, please vacate the room or whatever. It was like,
and I want to emphasize there was absolutely nothing happening in this time period that required us to be out of the room. I was there.
Yeah, they'd finished setup.
Yeah.
Like, the setup was not complicated. They basically had to move some tables and chairs off the stage and replace them with, actually, I don't think they had anything on the stage at that point because, they knew they were going to be getting people up and down. So they didn't need chairs for the performers at that point. So we were not happy about that, and we didn't
complain directly. If they confronted us directly, we probably would have explained ADA access. The person next to us, who was like visibly handicapped, did leave. Which I think there was one staffer who was going around just basically filtering chairs and picking up a couple pieces of trash, and I think they overheard us talking.
Yeah.
Because I heard them advocating for us to the person at the back who made the decision. Which I really appreciate.
And then they basically did say, oh, actually, if you have ADA, you can stay.
Yeah.
And but by that time, basically everybody else had left. Like, the main reason we didn't is that, again, being told rules that you didn't know beforehand, especially if they're inconsistently applied, is a pretty bad trigger point for you.
Yep.
What's
also I feel, as somebody with an invisible disability, I feel weird about making an exception for myself, but that whole way was just completely inaccessible to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a problem. So we did at least get to stay, and a couple of other people also got to stay.
Yeah.
But it wasn't good. don't do that again.
Yeah. I mean, I will say the person who was advocating for us was very nice and then ran out into the hallway, like literally ran and got anyone he could possibly find who had just been forced out of the room who had ADA accommodations.
Yeah.
So good to them.
Good to them.
But you also made a bunch of people walk with canes out a door and then back in again. Not you personally, but...
Yeah. Not great.
Yeah. For no reason.
Yep. So, yeah.
Fortunately, complaining about this did pass the time very well.
Yeah, it did. Oh, we forgot about one thing that we did also have to complain about at this con.
Oh, what?
The thing on Thursday with the water.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to briefly pivot before we talk about Whose Line, because this happened on Thursday. So the games room has a sign up saying, please no outside food or drink.
Mm-hmm.
Annoying, but I think that's a policy of the hotel rather than them. But they have water stations set up in the room. Great.
Yeah, so when we were playing Secret Hitler on Thursday, like normal human beings, pretty much everyone at that table went up and got a glass of water at least once.
Yep.
Because it's hottest day of the year.
Yep.
And fursuits, and the game room wasn't that well ventilated to begin with.
Yeah.
Because, again, Pittsburgh air conditioning is apparently kind of only a sometimes thing.
Yep. Yeah, so we were just drinking water, and that was fine.
Mm-hmm.
Later on, we went into the games room, and, I went and got myself a water, and I sat down at the table, and I was told that they didn't want open water next to, in the games room, despite the fact that the water provided in the games room had cups.
Yep. Well, they said closed containers were fine, but also think about how contradictory that is, because you have giant signs in the hallway saying no outside food or drink, and then inside the room you're allowed to bring outside drink, but only water, but you can't drink the water that's provided in the room.
Yeah. Which
clearly was a policy somebody made up on the fly, because I suspect somebody accidentally spilled water on a game, which I do understand is upsetting, but, you have to understand that probably is going to happen once or twice at a con, and yeah, it does kind of suck, but...
I basically just kind of looked at them, downed the glass of water, and they kind of moved on awkwardly.
Yeah, we did not respond to them at all. We just stared off in the distance.
Yep.
Because well, for one thing, what were they supposed to do? What did they want us to actually do, given that we already had water?
They did say, they want, you're allowed to drink the water in that room if you, drank it over by the water station. And they're like, so you just expect people to get up, go over, neck a glass of water, and come back to their table?
Yeah, I don't know if you've noticed. Well, they didn't notice because it's invisible, but I have a disability. I can't do that.
Yep. So, yeah. Not great.
No, we did actually complain about that one.
Yep, we went to Con Safety.
Because that was an active, actual safety hazard.
Yeah, so I went and told safety about it in the room, and they said they would look into it, and I suspect they did.
Yeah.
We didn't actually go back into the games room the rest of the weekend, not because we felt unsafe going in there or anything. Just the rest of the weekend there was a lot of stuff on.
Yeah, there was at that point, so there wasn't any point to going back in there. But again, I want people in there to be safe when they're playing games, and they should have free access to water. Denying people access to water is just not something you should ever do. I don't even particularly like outside food and drink. I can understand that a little bit about not wanting to get games dirty and stuff like that, so I do kind of understand. But at the same time, water is, I think, a pretty hard limit, especially if the water's in the room and being provided for you.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, back to Whose Line.
Yep.
So, this is Whose Line Is It Anyway Audience Edition, which is, generally speaking, they do 2 Whose Line panels at AnthroCon, one of which is audience participation, one of which is just their staple of comedians, both of which are excellent, good fun. Personally, I prefer the audience participation one a little bit more, just because I adore seeing all these people get up and have fun and do silly things. That's not to say the other version is in any way bad. I love that one too. It's much like Alkali. I very much love seeing people come out of their shells, get into their element, try new stuff. It's great to watch, and I love seeing it.
Yeah, so this was around the time when we found out the Fursuit Parade had been canceled, because they sent out, in addition to putting out information on all of their social media, they also emailed me, because I was the person who bought the badges, so it went to my email address. So they did a very good job getting the word out on this as quickly as possible.
Yeah,
and this was due to extreme heat. Also, their block party, which is their outdoor event, was also canceled.
Yes. So they canceled the Fursuit Parade and the block party because, again, hottest goddamn day of the year.
Mm-hmm.
They'd been apparently keeping an eye on the weather forecast all week and trying to figure out if they could still go ahead with it. and they eventually decided, no, this is going to be a safety hazard.
Yeah.
Because again, fursuits, I don't know if you know this, get pretty toasty.
Mm-hmm.
So going outside in nearly 100-degree heat with high humidity, and like getting people to march around, and again, like, it's not uncommon for the fursuit parade to like have to stop a bit. Like if they hit some traffic lights, for example, or something, and they need to stop for a moment, that slows the whole procession down. Like it's 1,000 people processing or something insane like that. Like there were going to be moments when like people in full suit were going to be stuck in direct sunlight.
Yeah. And for the most part, like I will admit, I'm not on con staff, so I probably didn't have to deal about or hear about any of the complaints. But most of the stuff I saw on social media and stuff like that was people reasonably understanding this and just being kind of understandably disappointed.
Yeah.
I will say, since these events aren't normally attend, or we don't typically attend these events, we just felt like mostly I felt kind of horrified for a second, because this is going to come up again. There are, quote, no events scheduled during the fursuit parade and block party.
There was one event scheduled.
There was one event scheduled during the fursuit parade and block party, and it was mine.
Because you specifically requested to be at that time.
Yeah, I did, because I don't want to go.
Yeah. Generally speaking, they don't schedule panels during the parade, specifically because, well, nobody wants to run those panels because, well, they either want to go to the parade or they think nobody's going to come to their panel if it's at that time.
I maintain is a misconception generally. Like, there's 20,000 people in AnthroCon. Not all of them want to attend the fursuit parade and block party. Probably the majority do, but there's still a lot that don't. Like, there are people like us who just were bored during that time, which is why I asked to go during that time, because I'm like, there's never anything scheduled at this time. I might as well host a panel so that there can be stuff scheduled at this time. And then I immediately became horrified, because at that particular time period, I was like, oh crap, my event is literally the only entertainment.
Yep. Yeah, so...
But I quickly realized they were probably going to reconfigure, make the comedians do a bunch more stuff.
Which they did do.
Yeah. But they were all like, thanks for saving the con. There were no events scheduled at this time period. There was one event scheduled at the time period. I want credit. Damn it. Because everyone seemed to be under the conception that my event was also a last-minute schedulization. It was not. I picked that time period.
I love
To be clear, this is entirely facetious. Like, I don't actually care. It's a little bit annoying to be overlooked continuously of just like, oh, there were no events. Because our AV guy thought we were also a last-minute schedulization just because everyone kept saying that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, shout out to him. He was really cool.
Oh, yeah. The guy doing the AV was amazing. We'll talk about him later.
Yep.
There's a lot of things we keep putting pins in this con.
Yep.
That's definitely some furry's kink.
Multiple.
Anyway.
Voodoo is really an underrepresented kink.
This is true. So, anywho. So Whose Line? Whose Line is it anyway? I adore.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really do. Like, so I actually volunteered for this one very early. Specifically, they... Having now been to this panel quite a few times at different cons when Alkali's running it, it's very clear he has a list of games that he does each time that he knows will work, will be fun, that are ones that new players can do quite well. Yeah. And I don't have a problem with that. Like, I was 90% certain the first game was going to be questions only, and I was right. And that is not a criticism, that is not a complaint, that is just he knows what works for new players, and I think that's a good thing. So I figured, okay, if the first game is questions only, I think I will volunteer. Generally speaking, at smaller cons, you can potentially go up multiple times. At AnthroCon, they explicitly say, if you volunteer for a game, please don't volunteer for a second game. We want to give as many people as possible the opportunity to be on stage and have fun. Yeah,
so you got to do questions only?
Yep.
And you were the first, act? I also chose you first, which was compliment. Also, particularly for improv games, because you get, chosen from the audience and stuff like that, we talk in advance, or at least while they're announcing the game, about which one of us is going to volunteer.
So I basically said, I'm probably going to volunteer for questions only if you're okay with that.
Which I was fine with that, because I did questions only, I think, at the last time we did improv games with Alkali, which is furthermore, and I got to improv with Alkali. Super fun. So I wanted to try a different game this time, and I got to do the one I wanted this time, so I was very happy.
Yep. So I volunteered for this one. ended up going first, along with somebody we spoke to a couple of times this weekend, actually, who was
very nice to us.
well, lovely.
And I really like their style generally. They've hosted a few of the history panels about cons that we really like.
Have they?
Were they that guy?
No.
Okay, sorry, that was a different guy. Okay, we've talked to a lot of people.
Yeah. But no, this is somebody we've met at a couple of different fur cons.
You're right. I'm mixing him up with a different guy. I'm so sorry.
You're very tired.
It's partially that. It's partially we meet a lot of people,
yep.
particularly at this con. So I'm just like, where do we know him from or them from?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, we might be seeing them in a few weeks because they are apparently they're one
they
of the vendors.
They have a booth at Gen Con, so
they will apparently have a booth at Gen Con.
So we'll try to look out for them. They were really nice to us this weekend.
They were great. Yeah, so I got they ended up as my scene partner because questions only. You are basically attempting to have a conversation back and forth with two different people. You are only allowed to talk in questions. Nice, simple game.
And you got to be the first people, so you did a great warm-up, and both you and I thought your partner were like very comfortable on the stage and did a great job just showing and demoing how the game was done.
Yeah, which again, I very much, I had fun with.
Yeah. I will say for this form of improv, stand-up I still struggle with. This form of improv I don't tend to as much just because I know I'm not going to blank. You're kind of the same way.
Yep. Again, there is a improv where you are going back and forth with another person is a different skill set than stand-up where you are generally talking on your own for 5 minutes at a time.
Well, it was interesting because somebody remembered me from the thing I wound up doing, which was I forget what the game is actually called.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, which is basically you have 1, 2, 3, and 4 letter sentences. You're also driving somewhere. I hadn't done this one yet. Mm-hmm. I will say my number dyslexia made it difficult, but I made it work.
Yeah, you did.
I got some good lines in. So
yeah, because again the way this game basically, that game basically works is you set up 4 chairs on the stage in a roughly square pattern. Mm-hmm. One person is the driver, the other 3 are passengers in the car. You are on a car journey to somewhere, but each person has that limitation on them. And the game is officially called 1, 2, 3, 4, which is kind of the baseline version. Alkali tends to vary up the number of words your sentence has to be. And if he, 1, likes you, and 2, thinks you can handle it, he will throw a high number at you.
I knew he was going to do that the second he picked me.
Mm-hmm.
I got 17, baby.
Yep.
And I got 6 the first time, which is also not that easy of a number.
6 isn't too bad. It's a little tricky, but it's not too bad. 17 is just him having fun at your expense.
And then I got, he switched it up 3 times. Last time I got 1. I'm like, thank God, I don't have to count anymore.
Yep.
But yeah, this was super fun. Great chemistry on stage. And somebody asked, or commented, or asked me later if I had improv experience. And I don't really outside of cons, but the thing about working in education is you're on stage 4 times a day with the world's most disinterested audience. So yeah.
You gotta be good at crowd work?
Yep. You gotta be good at just being able to talk sometimes just to fill the silence.
Yep. Which again, that's another thing that you and I are both fairly confident at. But no, you did great.
Thank you. Plus, I was wearing a sparkly pink dress that day. You said it looked pretty on stage.
It looked very pretty. It kept sparkling in the light. It was cool.
Also, something I noticed is that the stage has fans blowing on it, probably to help with fursuit performance. But if you're wearing a wig, that's just really annoying.
It was kind of funny. I'm not gonna lie, but you got away with it.
Yep.
Yeah, I definitely need to charge my phone while we're getting ice cream.
Okay.
But yeah, so again, this was a lot of fun. There was a lot of good moments, and in addition to the slightly longer form improv games those, they also have the quote unquote pile game. So that's Scenes from a Hat, World's Worst. These are the things that you get a lot of people up for, so they get large numbers of the audience up. I do think they ended up running over that time a little bit, or kind of get.
Well, it was a little bit complicated because Alkali was there to get things started. Then I think he had to leave because all the events were canceled. Mm-hmm. I don't know the exact reason he left, but this is my best suspicion. I suspect because all the events were canceled, they pulled all the kind of talent that they hired together to basically
say, okay, what can you do to fill that 5-hour gap tomorrow we now have?
So a bunch of people volunteered. Also, shout out to Fur, who I don't think was scheduled to host a single panel outside of DJing and dance, who was on 16 panels.
Yeah, he was suddenly on a lot of panels he wasn't expecting to be.
Yep.
But again, that is one thing about the furry community is they are very good at pulling together when that nonsense happens.
Yep.
I've seen this brilliant piece of footage from when, was it a gas leak, I think, at one FurCon? So they had to move everybody outside, and I sent it to you because I was like, oh, look, it's Uncle Kage. He really has been doing this forever. And it's just Uncle Kage getting interviewed on the news and basically saying, yeah, we've got some people here. Some people got a little bit too hot, but we got them some help, and now everybody's having a good time. And it's just like, yeah, he really is just that chill about the whole thing. He knows how to put on the public face, for the normies.
Yep.
So again, everybody's having a, again, this was a great time. I very much enjoyed it, and yeah, improv. Yeah, Whose Line is always one of my favorite panels. Once again, this was scheduled from 10:30 until goddamn midnight,
which was later than normal.
Yeah.
But it was still very, very fun. I do think just because you had the host switch over from, Alkali to Iggy and Dragar, who were doing a great job, but it did make it a little bit more complicated because they effectively had to take over. I get why Alkali did that, because he didn't want to just abandon them, because it's, one, I think it's one of his favorite panels to run, and two, he wanted to get the audience on board before he just gave it to them, because it was a massive room of people, and you want them to be on your side.
Yep.
So I do get that. But they also did a good job. I just think that led to a little bit of organizational chaos, because when you have that many people, you really do need a main host and 2 handlers just to make sure you're getting the correct number of people on stage.
Mm-hmm.
And because they only had 2 people, there were multiple times for the later games where they just wound up with more people on stage than they were anticipating.
Yes, they ended up with, was it Party Quirks, where they ended up with 6 people instead of 4?
Yep. Which that wasn't anyone's fault. It was just everyone was very confused about who was being pointed at, because Iggy couldn't walk that far because of kidney stuff, which valid.
So yeah. So again, it happens.
Yeah.
They
made it work. It was honestly just this is the thing Alkali says about improv: fail with style. And if you have 6 people for Party Quirks, it's going to be failing with style.
Yeah, so. It just means the guest at the party is just like, what? There's another guest? What? Or the host of the party, in that game is just like, what? How many guests did I invite to this party?
Yeah, I think that was the first game where Fern walked into the room, I think, for some other reason, and they were like, Fern, you need to play this game.
Yep, you need to do this. We know you can handle this. Come up here, have fun. Do a good job. So yeah. So that was it was a lot of fun. I very much enjoyed it. We then basically sprinted back across the convention center back to the car park. Because this was the night when we were getting out 10 minutes before when our parking was due to end. This
was also I think it was Thursday night that we tried to get out that one door, and then found out you couldn't get out that one door.
Yes.
Okay. So this time we're just sprinting back to the car park. I will say, in addition to other weird security stuff that was going on, for whatever weird reason, the entrance that we came in to get into the building was closed off at night for whatever reason. Although there were no signs indicating that.
Yeah, so they just had one poor security guard constantly telling people,
which was causing traffic jams. Less bad traffic jams, but it's also just I don't know why that entrance was closed at that time of night. They were saying that the only entrance that was open at that point was the West End entrance.
So that was the West End, so the other side of the convention center. I thought they were saying the Western.
I thought they were saying the West End too. I couldn't tell if it was West End or West End. Sorry, I also just say West End when I mean West End sometimes, because voice.
Yep. So yeah, I'm unsure about that myself. Who knows? But yeah, either way, so that was the point at which we, headed back to our Airbnb. It was still uncomfortably hot, but it was slightly less uncomfortably hot.
Yep.
So yeah.
So that was Friday. Then Saturday, I finally had to panel.
Yep.
And what that looked like it was mostly the same stuff. I was prepped and everything. I'm just I have no idea what's going to happen today. Also, I was looking at the schedule, and it changed 5 or 6 times as they keep putting events in and pulling them out variously.
I suspect poor Sparth was very overworked that day.
Because various people volunteered to run various things, and I think they shifted them around a little bit the next day in various things. So, because there were a couple events we highlighted, that maybe that'd be cool, that were then pulled again from the schedule, which is fine.
Yeah.
I think it was a bunch of people trying, and keep in mind, they had people working for 5 straight hours, and that's a lot of crowd work. Although, as somebody who works in education, I do that 3 times a week, so check it.
Oh. Nice sass, honey. But yeah.
To be clear, I do not think I'm better at crowd work at a furry convention than these particular people.
God. They are very, very good at what they do. But yeah. So, this was the day we knew we were paneling, so we brought, so I had my backpack, because one of the panel you were doing that day involved a PowerPoint.
Yep.
So I had that ready to go on my laptop. The one thing I will say about the DLCC is they don't have free Wi-Fi.
Yep.
That sucks. You can pay through the nose for it. I checked. Do you want to know what the event Wi-Fi rate is?
Yep.
It's $20 a day.
Yeah. Oh, we did have because I'm pretty bad about charging my phone generally. We have a limited number of chargers.
Mm-hmm.
On Friday, we didn't have our charge battery pack with us, and my phone was not charged, so we bought the charging station portable chargers they had there, which works pretty well.
It works pretty well. The only thing is, I've charged your phone from my battery pack before. It does it noticeably faster than that one did.
Yeah, because it's by the minute, so it's to their benefit to have it take a while.
Technically, it's in half-hour chunks.
Yeah.
So we ended up getting charged $6.
Which again, it's not that much money.
Yeah.
So
it's $2 per 30 minutes basically. Plus tax, so it was like $6.30 something, I think. But
I am a bean.
Which again, if you're in a pinch, it does actually serve quite well. Mostly, if I'd remember, I probably should just buy an extra USB charger plug so we've got it in the con bag just in case.
Speaking of which, you said what to do if you're in a pinch, but if you're in a crab, you should probably get consent first.
Okay.
I needed to get you off the topic. Shut up.
Okay. So it worked fine. But yeah. So
for the record, that was him hitting his head, not him hitting me. For who heard that?
Oh yeah, that was me face palming.
Yep.
Just to clarify, I only hit you with consent.
Yep. You're not gonna edit that out, are you?
Nope.
Great. Let's move on.
Anyway, so yeah, did we not do an extra game show that day?
We went to Iggy's Pyramid in the morning.
I
thought we were. When are we starting talking about the day?
Mm.
So we did Iggy's Pyramid and Password Plus, but he inverted the order because he wanted to.
Yep. Yeah, he did Password and then Pyramid, which I don't think anybody really minded.
What were you confused about?
So I definitely, while I had that charger, I ran out of a room we were in with, that was the game
Woo
show.
You game shows because it was the day before.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You're right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was trying to figure it out. So, yeah, because while I was switching over games, I basically
high quality podcast.
Ran out to return the charging thing.
Anyway, Iggy's Pyramid and Password Plus.
Yep. Again, this is Iggy running old style game shows. So Super Password Plus is one in which you're sort of giving clues in order to figure out a password.
Mm-hmm. And then Pyramid.
Yep. Which, in all honesty, I think he's right. Doing them all that way around works because Pyramid is a slightly more complex game.
Yeah.
But operates on similar basic logic.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it does actually make sense to do them that way around. But again, I don't know which way round he submitted them or if he submitted them a specific way.
Yeah, well, they didn't give me my exact schedule either, and I'm a lot less of a big name, so.
Yeah.
They did give me during the first Super 8, so.
Yep.
You guys were smart with that decision, I will say.
Yep.
Thanks for having one event during the first Super 8 that was prepared to be there.
Again, I think the issue is just, generally speaking, if panelists get scheduled at that time, they complain about it because a lot of panelists don't want to do that time slot.
For the scheduling process and how it works is basically like a lot of panels. You can put the time that you're available, and you can select your preferred time, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I selected Friday morning. They wound up giving me Sunday morning for the other panel, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
And during the first Super 8 on Saturday. And because I was like, well, no one ever does anything during the first Super 8 because they don't want to. I actually kind of do because I don't want to go. So, I don't have anything against first Super 8s. I just tend to kind of prefer seeing them in the hallway as opposed to during a line. So I did that instead. Yeah,
because again, watching the parade is a lot of standing around, which again is difficult for you.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So yeah, Iggy's Password in this was nice. It had a smaller crowd for it generally. I do think he was supposed to have special guests for this, but the guests were now doing other panels later in the day and probably needed a break to brace themselves to do that. So it was just the audience playing with each other. It was super fun. I think everyone who wanted could have played both games.
Mm-hmm.
So we did. It was fun.
Yep. A couple of people were up there multiple times, if they were prepared to. Again,
and Iggy tries to get everyone to play at least one of his games, which I like a lot. Yeah. And he went a little bit over time, but this was because they had extra time in the room generally. And Boozy had one of his, I think, panels after that and was happy to start late. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Again, as the as the lawyer on staff for the con says, if they turn up late to their own panel, there's probably a reason.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably a reason he's not allowed to talk about for a couple of years.
Yep.
So he did actually talk about it this time.
Mm-hmm.
Because the panel immediately after that was that professional horror stories?
Professional horror stories, yes. Yeah. Good memory.
And this one was him, Alkali, and one of their guests from Brazil.
Yes.
Basically talking about their own professions and just taking questions from the audience about them and the weird stuff. So like again, Uzi is a lawyer, so people were at one point there was the comment the previous night during Furry Jude about Alkali not being the worst judge he's worked with. Yep. Alkali, for the record, has no actual legal training, but him playing a judge is funny.
Yep.
So obviously somebody was like, so what can you tell us about the worst judge you've ever worked with? And Uzi answered the question. You asked a question about the importance of education.
Yep. The person from Brazil, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, had a very nice answer about think about all these professions and whether or not you want them to have solely online degrees, which was very good.
Mm-hmm.
And then Boozy did the usual waffle, which again, fair. This is a lot of people's attitudes of just for some careers you don't need them, which again I agree with that statement. Not everyone needs a college degree to do everything, but I also find that the typical 19-year-old doesn't know 100% that they want to be a plumber, and you need a certain baseline to do most other careers. And even if you think you have that baseline, you probably don't.
Yeah.
Because ultimately what higher education tries to do, a lot of people think, is critically think. But more deeply what it tries to do, and I try to emphasize this with my students, is this is the last time in your life where you're going to have somebody help you learn.
Yeah.
Everything you're going to learn from here on out, you're going to have to do on your own.
Yeah.
You might get some help, but you're going to have to recruit that help on your own dollar. No one's going to curate it for you. So you have to be able to know how to learn. And a lot of people don't, even though it's the most basic skill you're ever going to need in life.
Yep. Yeah. Again, this panel was fun. Again, they are a group with good vibes. They know what they're talking about. They know how to entertain the crowd. Again, they have a lot of different things that they can pull out of their proverbial hat. This one was actually on the schedule before. Because this was scheduled to go until, was it straight up until 1:30 originally? Yep. We did end up having to pivot out of this panel slightly early.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, I remember. I noticed that originally the panel had been scheduled to go from 12:30 to 1:30.
Yep.
And then it suddenly got extended to, 12 to 1?
Yeah, 12 to 1, then it went to 1:20, I think, because they just needed more stuff to desperately fill during the first Super 8 time.
Yeah, so they extended that panel by half an hour.
And we needed to do setup for my panel.
Yes, so we had to pivot out at that point. But again, I was having fun with as much of it as we were able to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, we headed over to your panel, which was just down the corridor, so it wasn't exactly a long distance to go. Oh, we should mention who we brought that day.
Oh, yeah.
So the other thing that you decided we should bring to this convention, and he's still in the car because I haven't fully unloaded the car yet. So you ordered a thing from Build-A-Bear a while ago.
Mothman.
And Build-A-Bear does a couple of different sizes of Mothman.
They make a normal size Mothman, which is about the size of a normal Build-A-Bear bear, and a giant Mothman.
So when it turned up in this massive cardboard box, and I was like, wow, that's an unnecessarily large box for
I ordered a regular size Mothman.
So I opened the box, and I'm like, oh no, this is the correct size for this plush.
Yeah. I told some people that story at the con that day. They were very, wow, your life is so hard and difficult.
Yeah.
Which, valid.
Yeah. So this guy's about, 3 foot tall?
Yep.
He's a very large plush.
Yep.
He's very cute.
Yep. And you carried it around all day for me. Watch out for that branch.
Yeah, I see it. But yeah, so...
and he was a guest panelist.
Yep. We just, kept setting him up on, if the room wasn't sufficiently, wasn't too crowded, we were just setting him up on chairs next to us or between us.
If the room was crowded, we put him on the ground because we didn't want to take seats away from actual humans.
Yeah.
So.
But if we were in a place where we could set him up on a chair, we were setting him up on a chair because it was the funny option.
We sat in between us in the first panel we were in, and then we decided that it was too hard to talk to each other during the panel, so we switched him to be Because typically, if there's enough room, I will have my dress across 2 chairs, basically, and just be on the end of a row, so I'm not like creating a fire hazard by keeping part of the skirt in the aisle, so people don't trip over it. And I just put them on like that part of my skirt.
Yeah.
I was also wearing my witch costume this day.
Yes, the black, slightly starry number, which is really cool. So I was carried a giant Mothman into the panel room. Plunked it behind the desk, set up my laptop. Plugged in, did all of that stuff. AV came and checked on us.
Yeah, AV, by the way, wasn't a con. They were with the convention staff, not the con staff, basically. So associated with the David Lord's Convention Center, not with AnthroCon specifically.
Yes.
They were a cool dude, though. And very efficient and nice. So.
Yep.
But they were confused because they were like, "Well, you just got this panel last minute, right?" I'm like,
"Nope."
No. And I realized they were probably told all of the panels at this time slot were last minute, which is understandable, but mine was not.
So yeah, in all honesty, I think they just kind of forgot to tell the con staff about the panel that was during the fursuit parade because they hadn't expected there to be any.
Yep. Well, it's also I will admit, I adore this con, but pretty much every member of the con staff is bad at reading and looking at the schedule. I've had to correct so many people about it this weekend.
Again, they're all working very hard on them.
Very tired. It's not on them, but if you want somebody there who's just to memorize, I can memorize an entire schedule for you if you want me to. And color code it. Backwards.
Yep, and just yell at people where they need to be at any given time.
Oh, yelling at people about where they need to be is one of my favorite tasks.
Yep, you do it to me all the time. Who's a good party? So yeah. So, we were about 4 minutes from our destination. Do you want to save talking about your panel
probably,
for after that?
So yeah, we'll probably go around the park, walk Emma for a bit, and then go get ice cream and then pick back up.
Sounds good. So yeah, we will do that.
We report on the teenage geese. We'll let you know if that Airbnb landlord gives us any more money back. They won't. So
they won't. But I have not even attempted to contact him. Yep. I'm just gonna go straight to Airbnb customer service at this point. But yeah. So yeah. Thank you very much for listening. We will be back in just a second. Toodaloo. And we're back.
We're back, and Emma's asking for pets.
Yep. You're very cute, Emma. You know that, right?
Emma's demanding puppy.
Can't imagine who she learned that from.
Hey.
So, where were we?
My panel.
Your panel.
My panel. Yeah, I had no idea how this was going to go. At all. I've never done this. I've never done paneling at a Furry Con before. In part because Furry Con's scheduled so far in advance a lot of the time, I don't even know if I'm going to be going to the con until, their schedule is already set. Yeah.
There's about 2 or 3 other furry-related things coming up this year that we don't know if we're going to don't know if we're going to be doing them yet, just because, again, we need to see what's going on with money and our lives and our schedules and yada, 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 blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but put it this way, I looked into seeing if I could also submit for IFC around the time AnthroCon happened, and applications already closed at that point.
Wow.
Yep.
That's 6 months out.
Yeah, I know.
Origins doesn't make you submit that far out.
Well, they this year seemed to, because I checked a couple times earlier, and they, weren't open for a while, so I think maybe they're open for a specific period. I also want to emphasize I wasn't trying terribly hard. It was more just kind of out of curiosity. So, anyway, we should circle back to this con.
Yes. Yeah. So, do you actually want to talk about the panel submission process briefly before we get onto the panel itself, or?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember it because, again, Furry Cons have you do this fairly early. It's, I think, a fairly standard Google form process where you get the form and then they basically inform you if you're accepted or not. Later, you get to choose a times you're available, then you're top pick for a time slot generally.
Yep. So
they gave me my top pick for the fursuit parade, I imagine, because literally no one else wanted it, as again, I was the only scheduled panel for this time slot.
Yep. Up until I had to scramble a bunch of new stuff.
Yep. And so yeah. Other than that, you have to put in a panel description. I don't remember if this one asks you how you know about anything. I mean, I think I probably put on there somewhere that I have a PhD. And I find this con does this, and a lot of other cons do this. They're write a short description, then write a longer description, but don't worry about the longer description because it'll just be used by the con staff to kind of judge your panel. Generally, I've written longer descriptions, and those are just what they put in the panel description. I don't really know why. And then, like most cons, weeks later you get an email. In this case, I got 2 separate emails that were spaced like almost a week apart, accepting both of the panels. Because they were going out in waves for whatever reason.
Might have been they were doing it by day or something
Yep.
like that.
I mean, I think this one also, because this one, the What is Animalism panel I got accepted later. I think it might have just been clarified they even could put anything during the fursuit parade, because it does depend on where the fursuit parade line is going to go.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, it doesn't go up to the 3rd or 4th floors, so as long as you're already up on the 3rd or 4th floors, it's fine. But otherwise, it can be kind of in the way if you need to get to the other side of the convention center.
Yeah, it's kind of a problem. I thought it did go through at least the 3rd floor or parts of it.
I thought lineup's not on the 3rd floor, is it?
No, lineup is in the 2nd floor, but I think they do go up to the 3rd floor.
I thought they just went down and then out, but we've never seen this event, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what the route is.
And they might have changed the route also.
Yep. But yeah.
So, yeah, AV person was very nice to help us get it set up, generally.
Yeah, that person was vaguely magic.
Yep. And so far as we would walk into the room and they would just appear.
Yep. Yeah, so we had a PowerPoint for this one, so broke open the laptop, plugged it into the HDMI port, nothing too fancy.
And there were already people sitting in the room we got in there. I assume they were just chilling, but pretty much all of them stayed. And then the room kept getting more and more crowded to the point of reaching room capacity.
Yeah, there was some standing room only at the back.
Which I do think was in part due to the fursuit parade, but a lot of people said that they legitimately wanted to go to this.
So, thank you guys.
Thank you. I had no idea what to expect with this, because I didn't know if this would be like a topic that interested the furry community.
Apparently it is.
It does. Apparently.
Like, you still had slides to go at the end of the panel because people were asking so many like interesting and incisive questions.
Exactly.
That we didn't get through the whole presentation.
Yep.
Which, hey, hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was super fun. We did have a mic issue at one point because the person who was in the room, I think, just turned the reverb up on the mic so much that they got angry with each other.
Mm-hmm.
So the AV person magically appeared to fix them.
Yep.
And I had the room cheer them, so I think they appreciated that.
Yep, that they did the appreciative wave as they walked back out again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Other than that, it was, again, very good. It was a very sweet person who I overheard in the front row just do a happy sigh at the end and say that was exactly what I wanted it to be. And my heart burst into 1,000 pieces.
Yeah.
And we were in the room for about 30 minutes after I was answering philosophical questions. And I think you were talking to people about Mass Effect.
Yeah, I talked to somebody about Mass Effect. Because, again, fun fact, I really love Mass Effect, and I don't get to do enough Mass Effect stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm currently attempting to put together a TTRPG group. If you're curious, go over to startplaying.com, search for it.
And we did announce the con ribbons at the beginning, and we gave them out. Pretty much all of them. I think we have like 5 left.
Yep, we did. Oh, and I should clarify, if you're looking for the specific game I'm running, it's called Mass Effect: Valkyrie Squadron.
Yep. Really?
Yes, that was an advert. Screw me.
Uh-huh. We're not sponsored. When you talk more about my panel instead.
Sure. So yeah, your panel went very, very well.
Yep.
Like, people definitely seemed very interested.
In, like, they got it and like, this is the very big thing about philosophy is sometimes there is a learning gap that's kind of hard to bridge a lot of the time, and that's not anyone's fault. It's just because it's such a niche and kind of difficult subject that sometimes people struggle more with the basic concepts, which is not their fault. It's not something they've learned before, but pretty much everyone who was asking questions was on it and asking really, really good questions. It was a lot of fun. Like, this was nice, like very nice, like an academic's dream.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was like practically in tears, and yeah, there was nothing in the room after us, so I did stick around to talk to people, but I tried to end on time just because one of the things they say in big bold block letters is you're supposed to end your panel on time, so I tried to stick to that.
Yeah.
So Sparf wouldn't yell at me.
He's not the yelly type, I don't think.
Honestly, Sparf, I think at that moment, if he poked his head in the room and saw like a gaggle of that many people hanging out at an unscheduled event, he'd be like, "Great, you found another event for this time point." That was my Sparf impression.
I think it's Sparf.
It's Sparf, yeah.
Yeah, it's something along those lines. But yeah.
That actually wasn't bad. Like, wasn't good, but wasn't bad.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was reasonable.
Yep.
Like, it was it was sort of like an impression of an impression, because that's similar to the voice he does when he's doing the Cousin Page
That's true.
bit. But, you know.
To do Cousin Poggy, you just have to say "my dear boy" every 2 seconds.
Yeah, that basically sums it up. But yeah. So, no, this was, a solid, solid, enjoyable panel, I hope, for everybody in the audience. Again, you put in an uncomfortable number of jokes about murdering me.
Yeah, no, but it was funny. We were trying to understand it. It was very fun.
Uh-huh.
So, after this, we did something.
We took a little bit of a mental break.
We
and
needed
just
a reset, generally. Like, this took us through most of, like, what was not the rest of the kind of unscheduled last-minute programming.
Yeah, this took us to about
We did miss FurCon, so that sucked.
Yeah. Yeah, we heard very good things about the FurCon panel.
Mm-hmm. So this was another panel Fur just was voluntold to do.
Yeah, I think they basically just said, hey, is there anything you could do in this time slot? I can do this. Okay, good, do it.
Yeah, the panel description reads, we gave Fur an hour of time. He used it to make a convention all about himself. We're confused too.
Yep. Based on what I've heard, this panel is very interesting to see because it has like an opening ceremonies and then like sub events, and he basically does technically do an entire mini convention with just himself.
Yeah,
it's basically a one-man show.
Yeah, I think we because we walked past the room when he was getting thrown out by Chris, so I think he got thrown out of his own convention that he started there and like snuck back in.
That seems honestly, that seems like a thing he would do. Yeah.
It's his own thing. Fur's an interesting individual. He's very nice, though.
Yeah.
So we came back for masturbation.
Yep. Remember, 2 separate words.
Yep.
Masturbation. We love this panel.
We do.
This panel is always chaos.
Yep.
The basic principle of this panel is that Boozy is the officiant, and he gets various, other members of their crew to debate stupid things. So, they get a speech, then there is a rebuttal from then the other side gets a speech, then there's rebuttals, which are a bit shorter, then there's a minute for like audience questions, and then the audience votes with their dollars, again going towards the charity, for which side won the debate. The side that wins moves on to the next round. They repeat the process by getting a new stupid suggestion from the audience, and it's supposed to be 3 rounds. For whatever reason, at AnthroCon in particular, they frequently don't make it to round 3.
Yep.
Half the time, at least once where we've seen it, they didn't even make it out of round 1.
That was the time that I think you gave $10 to keep Alkali keep going for 30 seconds, and Boozy, I think, realized halfway through that the standard that $10 was 30 seconds, which is way too low of a price. Because like within the first 5 minutes, Alkali was just the entire panel of time.
Yep. Arguing for, I don't even remember what he was arguing for. It was very stupid.
I think it was like against Alkali's basement or something. I don't know.
I remember what happened was he'd inadvertently been arguing for the wrong thing. And Boozy let him do the entire set before he pointed it out to him and made him do the right one.
Yep.
But yeah, so the audience suggested. So one of the panelists on this was Iggy, and Iggy's very good at this panel.
Yep.
I love Iggy in this panel.
Well, Iggy's one of those improvers who loves to create characters for him to like act out. So in this case, like one time he was playing a like preacher type character, which was a blast. A lot of times he does like Detective Iggy or something.
Yeah, he's got a deer stalker. Which, valid. I get the Sherlock Holmes fantasy. But yeah, so at this one where they were asking for suggestions, you and I knew immediately what suggestion I had to yell out as soon as possible. So I yelled Iggy's kidney.
Yep.
Which meant the debate ended up being, and I'm going to quote this directly, Iggy's kidney versus centaur bestiality.
Yep.
Go. So that was the level of insanity of this panel. The one thing is that, like, I feel like more of Boozy and Alkali's panels probably do need to be flagged 18+.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the con that's bad at it, or is it just they forget they should tell the con to flag them 18+. Like, I don't think there were any kids in that audience.
No.
God, I hope not.
Well, it's also part of the problem is if you do flag stuff 18+, everyone has to get ID checked, and they were doing something a bit weird probably talk about that slightly later, with ID checking, where they effectively were just making the fourth floor of the convention center 18 plus after a certain time, which made some sense, but it also like meant that if you had a panel that couldn't fit on the fourth floor, be 18 plus, you were going to have some problems. So that might have been part of it.
Yep.
But yeah, this was fun.
Yeah, and this panel's always a hoot. And one of the things they will also do is sometimes people in the audience will just draw art related to the to the panel.
One of whom was 15 years old this time, so
yeah, it's fine. They checked if their parent was okay with them staying, and the parent was like, "Yeah, you're good."
Yep.
So a lot of artwork got drawn, and they then auctioned the artwork off with again proceeds going to the charity. And this panel raised like what, $1,000, give or take. Like actually, it might have been like $1,500 if memory serves. Like
it beat last year's total, which was already ridiculously high.
Yeah. Like again, we don't know what the final charity total raised this year was, but I'm pretty sure the charity's already like broken down in tiers at closing ceremonies. So I think closing ceremonies is done by now. Because again, making the charity cry is always one of Alkali's goals at these conventions. Because I know what the charity. So I know that the charity was working on they're buying some land and they're clearing it to like expand because they're a rescue shelter for farm animals and and other similar large creatures. So they needed to build a new barn, and they're like, yeah, this is probably going to cost like $100,000 total when we're all done. Like, I don't know how much of that this con is going to cover, but I suspect it'll end up being a pretty decent chunk of it. So we'll have to wait for the official numbers to get produced. But yeah, so again, this panel is always a hoot, and yeah, the art was pretty dang good because they got off on some weird tangents.
Yep, as they always do.
Yep,
it's very silly. This is another one that I would love to do someday, but again, I don't want to like step my boundaries or anything.
I get it. Oh, he's not supposed to be in that ditch.
Nope.
I hope everyone's okay.
So after this, we went to Wheel of Fortune / Jeopardy, which was 2 back-to-back panels hosted by the same dude.
Yep. Which again, it's one of the game chauffeurs people. And again, they've done a very good job of replicating these game shows again.
This one was extraordinarily organized.
Yeah. So I can talk about Wheel of Fortune.
Okay.
Then you should probably talk about Jeopardy, and I'll talk about the other thing that I did. So Wheel of Fortune, again, I've not really seen Wheel of Fortune. Based on what you've told me, it's a pretty good version of it. What they did for this one was interesting. So they had 27 slots for this. And the way they did it was they handed out playing cards.
Yep.
Specifically, aces through nines, and 3 copies of each, or 3 different suits of each. And then, what they did was they brought they brought the aces up. They went up to the front and they played one of the what are they called? Quicker puzzles.
Yeah.
Where they just like reveal the letters and you have to shout out what it is. And then the winner of each one got to go on to the next round. Did that so that they went from 27 down to 9. Then they did another round of that, but it was it was first 2 points. And then the winners of those got to be on the main show, and they actually got to spin the wheel. And of course, it's at a con. It's a virtual digital wheel because I don't think you could transport the Price is Right wheel very easily.
Yeah.
No, not the Price is Right. The Wheel of Fortune wheel terribly easily, but again, everybody seemed to have a lot of fun.
The winner was another game show host who does other game shows and is very enthusiastic about them with almost uncanny ability to solve puzzles.
Yeah.
And I did like the system because it also gave everyone at least a little bit of a chance to play.
Yep.
Even if you got out the first round, you at least got to do one puzzle. So that's at least a little bit fun. So I liked this system a lot. It was fun. It was kind of fun. Both the tryout game and the actual game were both very fun. So.
Yeah. Do you have much else to say about that?
I know, it was just a fun panel.
Yep.
And then Jeopardy did something a little bit different. So for Jeopardy, they had like an exam. So they basically let pretty much anyone in the audience who wanted to just take this exam. They did technically have 50 copies, but there were about 50 people in the room who I think entered, really.
Yeah.
They did have a rule that you couldn't try out for both Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy, just to make sure that everyone got a chance to try out for at least one in the room, which worked perfectly fine. They wound up having a couple extra copies, so they let some people double dip, which absolutely fine.
Yeah.
My only real criticism is this is a much slower thing because the exam they hand out is like a physical exam with just kind of random questions on it. And then they have to hand that out to everyone in the room, and it's a big room, and they don't have a lot of assistance with that, and then grade it, and that takes about 15 minutes, and it's not as fun of an audience experience, because with the Wheel of Fortune one, you can watch people play, and that's fun, but if you're just taking the exam and kind of waiting, there's not much to do.
Yeah.
My other criticism of it is the exam was significantly harder than the actual Jeopardy matches they wound up having in a lot of ways, and a lot of the questions weren't matched. I kind of would prefer if they just did a sample Jeopardy category and like let people buzz in or something like that, or even if they did like just a single cat, or if it was a similar tryout and they just like a row of Jeopardy questions for each tryout, basically. So you just had random category, and then you had 3 people come up and you answered 5 questions from each category. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Which I think would take about the same amount of time, maybe slightly longer, but would be more of a fun tryout process where everyone should play Jeopardy. You also suggested a phone app.
Yeah, I did suggest you could potentially just do it with a Google form rather than the handwritten one, which will do the grading for you.
Yep. And also help those of us who have very poor handwriting.
Yeah. But again, like on the actual like quiz, I counted. I got 2 points.
I think I got 3, maybe, and they had both multiple choice and fill in the blank, and I think I just got one more like random multiple choice that I guessed randomly correct than you did.
Mm-hmm.
But both of us would have done well on the actual game show, ironically. Like, I knew the answers to most of the questions, as I imagine a decent chunk of the audience did too, which I think means it was paced about right, because the point of Jeopardy really isn't that the questions are difficult so much that it is the questions are formatted in a weird way that you have to kind of uncode them to get at what they're asking.
Which makes sense. Yeah.
So yeah, I stayed and watched the Jeopardy game. I recommended that you went over and grabbed seats for Who's Lion?
For Celebrity Who's Lion. Yeah. Because we knew the scrum was going to be it was going to be a mess.
Yep.
Because again, the Western had been kind of a mess all weekend, or the Allegheny Ballroom in the Western. So I went over. On the way, I stopped off briefly because I was bringing Mothman, and I happened to notice that somebody had set up a shrine to Mothman in the concourse. So I had to quickly stop and get a couple of pictures.
We met that person later. They were cool.
We did. I showed them the pictures. Actually, I sent them the pictures because they asked if I was all did that. I was like, sure. I can airdrop them to you. Jesus.
Whoa. Sorry. We're in that.
Storms.
Yep. You good to keep talking?
Yeah, I'm good to keep talking. So briefly stopped off, snagged a couple of pictures of Mothman at the Mothman Shrine, and then toddled over. So the event that was in before Who's Lion was AnthroCon Tonight.
Yep.
Which it's their variety show. It's the one that you can submit to be part of. You can go up and perform pretty much whatever you want. It has like a rehearsal. It's very similar in a lot of ways to the to a cosplay masquerade. Oh, that looks like less than fun for that guy. Except in this case, basically everybody was in suit.
Mm-hmm.
So there was some singing, there was some dancing. One guy did magic.
Yeah, we met this person earlier, and they were talking about how difficult it was to do magic in a fursuit, which I believe.
Yeah, they were doing ring tricks.
Mm-hmm.
Classic sleight of hand ring tricks, but of course, in order to actually make it possible to do with in a fursuit where you lose a lot of manual dexterity, they were doing it with hula hoops. It worked really well. It was really cool to watch.
I assume sleight of hand with it is also harder with hula hoops. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like this was great. I enjoyed watching this. But so but that was scheduled to end at 8.
Mm-hmm.
No, actually, no. It was no. Whose Line was supposed to start at 8?
Yes. And it was supposed to end at 7:30.
Yeah.
It was still going by the time you got over there, and you were there after it was 7:30.
I got there at about 7:20.
Yeah.
I went into the room and it was still going. I was like, okay, maybe they're close to wrapping up. They were not close to wrapping up. Like, this event overran by about 45 minutes. It didn't go through the just through the wiggle room time. It went all the way into time that was supposed to be Who's Line. But I did actually manage to snag us some very good seats because I got seats at the front, and a few people left, presumably because they had something else they had to get to. So I sort of went over and just half-inched those seats.
Yep.
So I got us very good seats. I let you know I'd done that and said you could kind of head over when you were ready.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so at this point, I think you need to accept that Anthro Hire tonight is going to take longer than you think it is.
Yep.
Like, give it an extra half hour just on the schedule, and realistically, and then maybe even give the full hour gap before whatever the next thing is goes in there.
For this one, thankfully, though, they did not clear the room and make everyone go back on and out in, just because I think they realized they had zero time to do that, so that was nice.
Yeah, they were already 15 minutes over. Like, the Alkali did come up and say that, they might just start the panel 30 minutes late and start it at 8:30.
But then they realized that's a logistical nightmare because Alkali was hosting a panel at 10 and they had the puppet stuff in there next, and I actually do think they needed to reset the room for that, so.
Yeah, because I think the puppet stuff does require a certain amount of setup, so. Glad it wasn't doing this when we were walking in.
Yep. Well, there's, clouds are lighter up there, so.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just in summer shower season.
Yep.
But yeah, so
yeah, you texted me around the time that they finally called Last Act, like I told you to.
Yeah.
They just finished the Jeopardy. I didn't see the final round of Jeopardy because I didn't want to get out of the room and over there, but it was a game that anyone could have won at that point. Yeah. I will say I'm pretty sure the answer to the last question was Mr. Peanut, because it was the final Jeopardy was so-and-so created this character. The top hat, monocle, and cane were later added. So I'm pretty sure that's Mr. Peanut.
That's probably him.
Yep. Because it said mascot or something like that. So.
Yeah. But yeah. So yeah, do you want to talk about your journey to get over?
That was an adventure. So first, when I got out of the room, because I think that the upper corridor is scheduled to go +18 at 8 o'clock at night, there were just randomly 6 different security staff milling about next to the room for no reason. I was unclear what they were doing.
My guess?
Yep.
They were probably there to go into the room once the next panel was due to start and check IDs of anybody who stayed.
Yeah, that's fair.
Would be my guess.
Or clear them out or something.
Mm-hmm.
But they were just kind of milling around when I was there. I tried to go down the stairs, and they had blocked it off with a giant sign. Because how it works is there's 2 escalators and there's stairs in the center of them to go up and down. But the stairs on both sides were blocked off with a giant 18+ sign.
Yep.
I'm in a ball gown. So going down the escalators, thankfully, I told you to go over, because this actually was a ball gown I could maneuver into my own, and I managed okay. But you should not, in any circumstances, block stairwells. It's a fire hazard, even if it is just with the sign that you can move if there's a fire.
Yeah.
Because for some people, stairs actually are an easier form of accessibility than escalators or lifts. I just said lifts.
Ha-ha!
Damn it.
Cross-contamination.
Uh-huh.
But yeah.
So, but I managed to get down the escalator, and then there was this massive pile. They were screaming at people to get into different lines. I assume this had something to do with the dance that was likely in the main hall and how to get in and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But it meant that the hallway, because the main event is behind the escalator, and the main hallway to go across to the bridge is on the other side of the escalator, and there's 2 effectively hallways on either side of the escalator. Both of them are completely blocked with people. I did not feel safe.
Yeah.
Once I got through the building, it was okay, but there were also a lot of security guards that felt like they were kind of barking directions to me along the way that weren't helping. One person was just to one side, single file. I'm this is not making me feel better. This is just making me feel yelled at.
Yep.
I do get that it was a high occupancy time of the con, but it felt like they were stressed out, obviously, because a lot of stuff seemed to be happening, and they were kind of letting that affect the attendees, which I don't think is their fault. I think it's just a fault of everyone was kind of stressed at that time period, and maybe there's something we can do to manage it better in the future.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Once I got over the West End, it was mostly fine. There was like somebody sitting on the stairwell eating, which is also a minor fire hazard, but they were nice. And like, I get it sometimes. There's not a lot of seating anywhere.
Yeah.
So then I came in, sat next to you, panted.
Yeah, I moved Mothman out of the way because, again, the advantage of having Mothman with him is I could just put him on the chair next to me to save your seat.
Yep.
One person did look at me and I just kind of went, he's saving a seat for my wife. And he kind of went, okay. Mm-hmm. And then sat in a different chair. Like, there. Nobody really had a problem with it.
Yep.
And then so the kickoff of Celebrity Whose Line was definitely a bit chaotic because, again, like the previous event had overrun. They initially, I think, were going to shunt it by half an hour. Then they realized that AV was going to need time to set up the concert that was in there afterwards, so they couldn't shift it by half an hour. So they just had to kind of like start very, very quickly.
Yeah, everyone was a little flustered at the beginning, but they got it under control.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they shifted it later, both Alkali and Dragor were supposed to be playing D&D later, and it would have just messed with everyone's schedules. So
yeah,
but it was funny.
Yeah,
again, like games.
Yeah, they're good at improv, as we might have mentioned. Again, Dragor was theoretically emceeing this one, while Alkali was one of the players. Again, because of the sudden start and the fact that Dragor was one of the hosts of the previous event. So they did have to like scramble a little bit, and there was a bit of crossover there, but like it worked out fine. Again, it was good, it was funny. Like, this event's always a riot. As I say, I prefer audience participation just because it's fun seeing the audience do it. But these guys, if you're looking for a comedy improv group to do Whose Line Is It Anyway at a con, these are easily the best group we've ever seen do it.
Agreed. It's actually quite hard to carry Whose Line Is a Con. Like, there's a lot of groups that like tend to be more focused on making each other laugh than making the audience laugh. Mm-hmm. This group does it perfectly in a way that makes it fun for pretty much everyone who's involved.
Yeah.
And there was one scene with Pup and Boozy that just broke the entire room. So,
Buddy.
Yeah. Was that his?
That was the name of the suitor.
Okay, sorry.
You're good. That just like the entire audience just lost it. The people on stage, Boozy and he were just staring at each other with a, okay, I guess we're going there look on their faces. Yep. Well, look on Boozy's face. I don't know what was on the face of the fursuiter because they were wearing a fursuit.
Well, Boozy was extremely red, and I suspect they were extremely red under the fursuit.
Yep.
And then finally, I think Dragor was in charge of the scene called scene, and they were both just like, thank you.
Yep. Because that was your new line, wasn't it? New line. Thank you. Because again, they're a really good group. They're very good at what they do. Mm-hmm. As always, this was a hoot. This was 8:30 until 10.
Yep.
Oh yeah, no, it was supposed to be 8 until 9:30.
Yeah, and then at 10 there was another panel. So this went a little bit over time, but not much. But I got my fill from this. Like, I was very happy with the length that it was.
Yeah.
Because I will admit, at this particular point in time, my attention span was just starting to wane.
Yeah, again, at this point, we'd got maybe 4 hours of sleep each night the previous 2 nights. Maybe.
So, you done talking about that?
Yeah.
Okay. So then we pivoted over. I wanted to see the Puppet Slam this year, but I think I kind of just chickened out because, I don't know, it was late. There were so many events starting at 10:30 this year, and I just couldn't do it. So I decided to do a 10 o'clock one instead, just so I didn't have to wait longer, which was the Alkali's weird D&D panel that's still kind of confusing. Mm-hmm. It was fun. You want to explain it? I was going to find the actual description for it.
Yeah. So Alkali's D&D panel was interesting. Cause, I freely admit, I didn't read the event description. I probably should have.
I did, but it was still confusing.
Yeah.
I want to emphasize it was still fun. It was just confusing.
So generally speaking, if you see a D&D panel at a con, what that usually means is they will play a game of D&D, usually a short one-shot, in front of a crowd. Think Critical Role.
Yeah, I can read you
or...
the description. A D&D game like you have never seen before. The story is set, the goal is achievable, and all of you can help. Heavy audience participation panel, and remember, if you roll the dice, you've already lost, which is fine, but it doesn't really make it clear who's playing D&D.
Yes.
So I think us, and I also think the panelists, to some extent, were under the conception that the panelists would be playing D&D, and like most audience participation D&D, we just shout out suggestions to the GM.
Yeah, or maybe it's not at all uncommon with those kind of panels to let the audience in some way manipulate and or roll the dice.
Yeah.
For example, we've seen this done at Colossal Con where one of the guests was Toothless the puppy.
Yep.
And they're human, whose name I always forget.
And they do a great job with this. They're pretty much the only version of this so far that I've actually liked.
Yep. And one of the things they basically say is, hey, if you donate $20 to the charity or whatever it is, you can roll the big D20 because they have one of those big inflatable D20s.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I think I was under the conception when I chose this, and I think a lot of other people in the room were under the conception that that's what this would be.
Yeah.
The panelists would be playing D&D. It would be funny because they're comedians, and we would shout out suggestions as the audience. It also said it was a charity panel. I think just because the charity wanted to go, because they were here.
Mm-hmm.
But I assume that you could similar to Toothless's D&D, where you can donate things to add characters. I figured you could donate stuff to make things happen in the story.
Yeah,
that's what I thought I was going to walk into.
Yes.
That was not what this was.
No. What this was Alkali telling us a story about us all getting sucked into an alternative dimension. Everything's pseudo weird, and then as a group we had to basically everybody in the room was part of a D&D party.
Yep.
And as he said, most of you have probably played. You all have a standard go-to character. Kind of picture that in your head, and I'm like, okay, basic great paladin.
Oh, I was reeling. What's the weirdest thing I can do?
Yeah, because that's how you play TTRPGs.
That's true.
You like breaking me as a GM.
I like breaking everyone as a GM.
Yeah, that's fair.
So yeah, I did this, and then it was 30 people in the room. Alkali did do a very good job of, I think, give everyone who wanted to be part of the plot attention.
Mm-hmm.
And Alkali also knows that, if we're not raising our hands, we're not interested in doing something, because we will just raise our hands. We're not the type of people who really need encouragement to do things. So what this basically devolved into was there was one person from the charity that was basically running things, and the people who wanted to participate were going up to them and suggesting ideas. Alkali used card deck instead of dice, and the more people who were helping with a spell or encounter could benefit from the die roll and things like that and work together, and that was fun.
Yep.
I will admit I didn't have any attention span to pay attention to the actual plot, and I will admit as a raw TTRPG, I really don't care about plots that much. It's I care about character growth and character development, but I'm not always terribly interested in plots with MacGuffins or stories. Which I know is your pain with GMing me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look, a random NPC.
Yeah, you very much are the, tell me your life story, random NPC who was just created 20 seconds ago who was supposed to give you some exposition to point you in the right goddamn direction. One of these days, I want you to play a warlock just so I've got somebody who can tell you where you're supposed to go.
I invented the singing telegram in one D&D campaign.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I'm terrified. At some point, your brother needs to turn up in this current campaign. And I mean her in-game brother, not her real brother.
Yeah, and our current game that we've just started running, I play a cleric who's a death cleric type thing. We're still level 1. I think we just turned level 2.
You just turned 2.
Also, I don't ever level up my characters till a minute before the game starts.
Mm-hmm.
Who is from a family of necromancers and has a brother named Corpse, who they had so that they could kill and resurrect them several times.
Yep.
That was part of my backstory. I wrote about that.
Mm-hmm.
So keep in mind this is the context, and I like smaller, more intimate role plays than this, so I just don't think I was quite feeling this. Plus, generally when I'm tired at night, I don't really want to fight for attention. I didn't really want to deal with that. So what did we do instead?
You created the character of Puppet,
Mm-hmm.
who was basically just a Muppet. And because I was doing a paladin, you basically decided we were from a children's show called Paladin and Puppet.
Yep. So you were Pal, I was Puppet.
Uh-huh.
And I basically explained the plot to you, and we did a bunch of children's bits.
Yep.
We defeated germs in our scenario.
Yeah.
by washing our hands. And I created the song.
Don't sing it.
Fine, I won't.
But
But I
yes,
created a song, so I was
yeah.
happy about that.
Again, we were basically like, it's not that we were checked out or anything. Like I was like,
I was enjoying watching other people play. It's
Yeah.
just I was tired and I didn't really want the spotlight on me at that particular moment.
Yeah,
And I would rather just do something stupid with you.
Yeah.
Like people were staring at us strangely a couple times just because we were killing ourselves laughing about stuff that we could not explain because it was like 6 in-jokes deep about the Pal and the Puppet public access TV show.
Yep. So yeah, like this was a very fun panel. And for the record, you can tell Alkali likes GMing, and I suspect he's very, very good at it.
I have no doubt he is.
You know, like that intro spiel was very good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just it was mostly a case we didn't have the headspace for it. And again,
we didn't. There were kids in the room, and like when there's kids in the room, sometimes it's good to have the spotlight on them, especially for stuff like this. So
yeah.
So yeah, we didn't stay for the entirety of this. We stayed for about 3/4 of it, I think. Although I missed the part where the kid like said curse words on stage to defeat the villain.
Dang it.
We should have stayed longer, but we were tired.
We were tired, and once again, we were approaching the point where our 15 hours of parking was almost up.
Yeah. Now we could have like stayed for longer, but that would be $15 extra for staying like an extra hour, and that's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
So you know.
So yeah. So that you do realize that means we did like 2 15-hour days back to back,
which makes me feel a little bit less bad about leaving early today.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like, I'm done. Yeah. Like not in a bad way, just in a this con is incredibly intense type of way, and I needed to just be done.
Yeah. Because yeah, we've got about 20 minutes left until we get home again.
Like this is the thing is I even planned this drive that added an hour and 2 hours and 40 minutes or something like that.
It's only about an hour 10 to where
but we're going both directions.
Yeah, so about 2:20.
Okay, let's move on to Sunday.
Yeah, so again, we we pivoted out of that, not because we weren't enjoying it, because at that point our attention span was shot and we needed actual sleep.
Yep. So we did that. Most of the fireworks displays were canceled that night. It was the 4th because rain
and heat.
Yeah, rain and heat. It's very. America's 250th anniversary is very ominous.
Mm-hmm. There's footage of lightning hitting a firework.
That's kind of cool.
It's really cool picture.
I'm sure it's not safe, but it's very cool.
Yep.
So we got up, checked out of the Airbnb. I was wearing my druid dress. I brought Emo Boy Axolotl with us that day. And we had another panel to run that morning.
Yep.
Which I was nervous because it was supposed to be opposite Boozy's Basic Law panel, but that wound up getting canceled, I think mostly because Boozy was too tired to host it.
Yep. Yeah, they always put that panel at 9:30 on a Sunday, and I don't know why they keep doing that to him.
Yep. And yeah, I got to the room early. We chatted with some people. Like, a lot of the people who went to my panel yesterday came back for my panel today. Like, quite a lot, which is very nice.
Yeah, it was interesting that we did that. We forgot to shout out the fact that we were doing that second
panel.
I
didn't even mention that.
And it wasn't connected on the schedule.
Yeah, for whatever weird reason, neither my, name, I just put the con couple as, our name for this. Neither our name nor the panel description was linked to this at all. And I could have called somebody or emailed somebody and asked them to fix that, and I'm sure they would have, but I'm just like, I really don't feel like I need to, given that the title of this panel is Ethics Professor Reads Reddit Stories. I feel like that's a pretty descriptive title. I feel like most people are just kind of going to get what this is from that, so we're good.
So this panel was fun.
Yep.
The basic format we use for this one is you and I had found, between us, we'd found various Reddit stories. A bunch of them are ones you use in your class. Some of them were a few that I found.
Mm-hmm.
And we just had prepped in a Google Doc with links. And then I would read the story.
Yep.
And then you would comment on the ethical side of it.
Mm-hmm.
And you created a cheat sheet of basic ethical terms.
Just to help people. Some people took them. Not everyone was interested in them. That's fine.
Yeah. Which, of course, we left in the car, so I had to sprint back and get them.
Yeah.
And I had 4 minutes until the panel officially started when we realized that. So but I made it back before the panel officially started.
Yeah.
I was on time for our panel.
Yeah. And people were definitely quieter for this one, I think, just because people were a little bit less awake. But everyone still seemed to have a good time. For the most part, no one left the room. A couple people did around the time the vendors hall opened.
Yeah.
Or when we were wrapping up because we were going close to time. But otherwise, it was a very well done panel, I hope.
Oh, yeah.
I hope people had fun.
Yep.
And yeah, I'll definitely bring more ribbons next time for anyone who didn't already get one.
Yes. Again, the rooms ended up being a lot fuller than I anticipated, so we basically ran out of, like, I had to break out the emergency ribbon supply, which
Yep.
I do keep us some spares in combat. Those are actually intended to be there in case I forget to bring the ribbons, not, as, like, because I don't ever expect to get out that many, so thank you to everyone who took one.
Yep. Yeah. I thought this was fun. And weirdly, this was the less rowdy of the two panels. I expected that to be inverted, but I think it still worked.
Given the timing of the
Yeah, that's true. Maybe I'll put it at like a more interesting time part. People were laughing at the Reddit stories, which was fun. So.
Oh, yeah.
And you do a good job reading them, so.
I try.
Like, I know you like the voice acting stuff, and I thought I did a good job, like, bringing in philosophical concepts to, like, talk about them.
Blueberry.
The guy wrote a W into blueberry, so. Anyway, this was fun. We'll definitely have to, like, we actually planned way more Reddit stories than we wound up going through. I just didn't know how much audience interaction there would be, but there were a lot of questions this time, too, and good ones.
Yep, I think we got through. So I deliberately opened with a very short one.
Yep.
Just as a, like, audience warmer-upper, and then we moved into, like, the first actual one. I think we got through
4?
maybe 4?
Because we did your opening RPG one, we did the pie one.
Yeah.
What's the next one we did?
We did the cancer one, and we did the train one.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, so about 4. So
yeah.
We'll keep that as a baseline for next time.
Yep. Yeah, but again, we've got enough in that Google in that Google Doc. We do a bunch.
Yeah, if people want us to do, which hopefully they do, because both those panel rooms were full. So
yeah.
I don't know what more you want. Also, this time, so when we set up this panel AV guy from yesterday, we did not see AV guy in the hallway. We literally walked into the room, sat down, and then AV guy appeared from nowhere. AV guy is magic. I love AV guy.
He did great.
Yep.
Like, again, as he said, hey, do you need a projector? And I was like, nope, not for this one. Like, cool. Turn on mics.
And he remembered us from yesterday. It was super nice. So.
Yep, cool. Wasn't working. Give him a shout if you need anything. Cool, thanks.
So after that, we went to convention war stories.
Yep.
It's mostly just people rambling about conventions.
Which we like.
We do. Now, we've heard most of Alkali and Boozy's like main stories that they like are just their kind of bog standards, which are the ones I expected to hear today, given how tired they were.
Yeah.
But they had somebody who was the chair of the Brazil FurCon, whose name I forgot.
It might just be Brazil for FurCon Brazil or
no, they definitely did something more creative than that.
Yeah,
but whatever.
Whatever it's called.
But I thought they had great comedic timing.
They did, especially given that English is not their first language.
Yeah, I know. They were really funny. So I liked them a lot. There was one joke in particular that killed, but I don't even want to explain it because that punchline is so good that you just deserve to experience it.
The punchline was great. Like, it's one of those. They said it was one of those stories where they said, "Oh, speaking of this," then they go into the story like, "Okay, this has nothing to do with the previous statement, but okay, he just wanted to segue, fair enough." And then he links it back right at the end. It's like, "Oh, it's the punchline that relates to that comment." Okay.
Yeah, it was so good.
Played.
Yep. They also had AnthroCon's, like, I think, vice chair on there, so that was cool. Yeah, we can't really talk about this one too much just because they're not our stories to tell generally, and many of them we've heard before, which I actually appreciated because I kind of was, like, losing the capacity to pay attention for long time periods at this point, so.
Not on the
call.
Again, 12 hours of sleep across 4 days.
Yeah.
I have to be at work tomorrow.
Yeah, it sucks.
You don't.
I don't. I really want a caffeine hit, though, and it's a mistake, though, and it sucks. Okay. So after that, we said goodbye to a few people. Alkali, for instance.
Yep. Yeah, we deliberately stuck our heads briefly into the charity auction while they were still doing setup, like before the auction actually started, just because we wanted to quickly say bye to them and let them know we were going to hit the road. Because there was other stuff we could potentially have done at this con, but again, we've been away from the pets for several days. We wanted to get home. It's not that the rest of the stuff that was going on wouldn't have been fun, but we needed to get back. Yeah, and we also needed to record and just kind of relax. And AnthroCon's charity auction we did last year, but it wound up being just a lot of very big ticket items as opposed to kind of weird, smaller items, which tend to be more the stuff that we like to look at and bid on. So we decided to just kind of head out. We toured the vendors hall briefly after that. Yep.
Said goodbye to some like friends and people we met. Some people came up and complimented us about stuff we did earlier in the weekend. Some people said hi to us, and it was just very warm and fuzzy.
One person said they'd love to see you debate Boozy.
Yeah, that's a huge honor on several levels.
That is a ridiculously high compliment.
Yep, I'm aware. So, we good now? Sorry, we hadn't had to speed run the last part. We tried to avoid that as much as possible.
It's fine. We've still got 12 minutes.
Yep.
And yes, I do have the sat nav open telling us how far to get until we get home.
Okay.
So, yeah, at that point, back to the car, got
Yep.
on the road, recorded the podcast, did all the nonsense you've heard for the last couple of hours, including, God damn your pharmacy.
Yeah, well, I didn't need to be reminded of that.
Sorry.
It's fine.
Yeah, we'll get it sorted. So, top favorite con moments.
Well, we have to talk about stuff we didn't do.
Oh, yeah.
There are many nightly dances.
Yep. Yeah, dances, they have the dance competition.
Probably a billion room parties, dance competition, floor wars, all that jazz. There was the ticketed comedy show that is a special ticketed event, but it raises extra money for the charity, which is cool. I think the charity will be very happy. I suspect 6 figures for this. Games of Werewolf. Sorry, I have to do this, but my phone is like, a lot of fan panels, obviously stuff related to animals, bunch of meet and greet panels. They did have a Neopets meet and greet panel, but it was conflicted with other stuff. Video game tournaments, some writing panels, the basics.
Yep, they had an escape room.
Yep.
Which was one you did have to pay for.
Yep.
Again, we've discussed escape rooms before. They're not our thing.
No.
If they're yours, great. Enjoy them. Have fun. Yeah, we don't like the whole, we're going to stick you in this room, because one, that makes you feel trapped, and two, we like to have a little bit more direction, and escape rooms are more about, like, having no idea what you're supposed to do and just kind of figuring out as you go.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I might want doing one just with you, but half the time you're in an escape room, it's just with random people, and, because it's a teamwork activity, I don't want to be doing stuff myself, and I also don't want to get in the way of anyone else's stuff, so I just kind of don't want to do. It's just not fun for me.
That's fair. Yeah, it's okay for a thing to not be your thing.
Anyway.
Okay.
Top favorite con moments.
After you.
I thought I went first last time.
I genuinely don't remember.
Well, you go first this time.
Okay. Stand-up comedy. Like, I love doing open mic. It's fun. I got a good reaction out of the room. I was curious to know how I survived drinking 4 Vespa martinis in one night.
I felt like it was just an excuse to brag to Alkali about drinking 4 Vespa martinis in one night.
Maybe.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, fun fact, I was barely sweating that night. I don't know if that... it's possible.
Maybe you just also have my enzymes.
I think it's mostly just at that point in my life, I was drinking cocktails for Dad made, which meant I was basically immune to both gin and vodka. Put it this way, I definitely couldn't do it now because I'm out of practice. Your turn?
What is animalism panel?
Valid. It was really fun just watching.
Particularly that moment when that person just whispered in that happy way I also sometimes whispered. That was everything that I wanted, with this happy smile on their face, and my heart just broke into 1,000 pieces.
It was so sweet.
Yeah. Seeing Iggy. Mm-hmm. Oh, come on. You're not going to give me that?
Specifically the moment when, yes, you turned around and you saw her, but it was so obvious watching from the outside that you wanted to ask him for a hug, and just weren't sure if you could, and didn't want to put pressure on him to say no to it.
Yeah, Iggy is one of those people who I suspect has a hard time saying no.
And yeah, again, the dude had abdominal surgery and is going to have more abdominal surgery.
Yeah.
Best not to hug him if he's not up to it.
I will take Whose Line Is It Anyway, the one that we did, just because I really liked we both got on stage and got to play the games that we like, and I really liked the car that I had, for my game a lot.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
And again, you did get 2 17-word statements.
I did.
Hard.
Everyone awkwardly clapped at the second one because they were just like, "Wow!" At this point, it's not impressive because you made it look easy.
So yeah, and last one. Oh, Mothman and the Shrine. It was just kind of a perfect stupid moment that I really enjoyed. And the fact that I bumped into the person who made the shrine and who wanted to share pictures, that was great. Yeah, I'm glad we brought the stupid giant Mothman. No offense, buddy.
Oh yeah, the Mothman Shrine. I also took pictures next to that. That's a good one. Damn it. You've been taking all my moments. Shouldn't have let you go first.
Ha!
Dick.
That's my name.
Yeah, well. Why did I choose you?
I ask myself that frequently, honey.
I honestly will take the UU game show panel just because we didn't see that last year because it's always conflicted with Iggy's panels before, but now that they've included Iggy in it, we finally got to see it and it's really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now on to that was all three, right?
That was all three.
Okay, we're very sleep deprived in case you couldn't tell that.
Yep.
Okay, so would we go back?
Yes.
You don't even ask me.
You are allowed to also have an opinion. That is my answer to the question. I would
I
go
thought you were
back.
going to give the disclaimer first.
Okay. Standard disclaimer. This is a very personal question to us. Would we go back? Involves a lot of different factors like price. Like, this is one we have to rent an Airbnb for. Because if we try and do this as a back and forth con like we were contemplating, we would have died.
Yep. Yeah, that was, I want to emphasize, even with the air conditioning fiasco, a smart decision to get a freaking Airbnb. Plus, we wouldn't have been able to do any of the late night stuff had we not done that. So,
because we would have had to leave several hours earlier,
including Charity, who's lying.
Yeah,
would have been yeah.
Plus again, it's a relatively expensive con.
Mhm.
It's by far not the most expensive. Especially if you're just getting a standard attendee badge. If we were paying for VIP badges, it would be pretty pricey.
Yeah, we randomly, just because we were like looking around before anyone got there one morning, randomly were like by a door looking over where they were supposed to have the fursuit parade lineup later, and like there was just this dude who I think still sort of staffs AnthroCon, but it's mostly retired, just hanging out, and like there were a lot of rooms that they had around just to stash various instruments from all the musicians they have around, and he was conducting one of the furry orchestras.
Yep.
Don't question it; it makes about as much sense as it is. We talked to him for a little bit, and he commented about like the history of AnthroCon, and how one of the things that AnthroCon prides itself is that it's the cheapest of the major cons, which are, I think, Furry Weekend Atlanta, Midwest Fur Fest, AnthroCon, and Megaplex are the kind of biggest four right now.
Yeah.
Although Anthro Ohio will probably be there in 2 years because Jesus.
Yeah.
But he said that it's the most affordable, which I do believe.
Mm-hmm.
Because Midwest Fur Fest is in Chicago, and Megaplex is in basically a water park in Orlando. And Furry Weekend Atlanta, I really have no idea about it, but it sounds more expensive.
Yeah.
And yeah, parking's reasonable. It is a little bit more expensive generally, but there's just nothing else like this con.
No.
We also talked to, I think we mentioned we talked to a couple people this weekend who just watched the fursuit parade from outside and were curious and bought tickets.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking to somebody who was a little bit older who was saying that, and they were saying basically, yeah, now I have animal ears.
Yep, they got ears. They have a little light up LED badge.
This community just adopts people.
Mm-hmm. Again, it's a community that's celebrating. It's celebrating itself and celebrating each other in a way that a lot of other communities just kind of don't.
Mm-hmm.
They're all about celebrating each other's art and creativity, and in all sorts of ways, whether that be visual art, the construction of the suits themselves, whether that's writing or poetry or song, or it's just a very wholesome community.
That said, I do get this con isn't for everyone. We do know a couple of people in the furry community that just don't do the big cons because they're just too intense, and that's okay.
Yeah, this is, as we said, probably the most intense con we do in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that's not for everybody. And that's okay. Yeah. So yeah, would you go back?
Yes. Would you?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing else quite like this. And it says something that we literally had to plan an additional drive that was longer than the drive we took previously, cumulatively, to actually talk about this con.
Yeah. Yeah, if this was a nice, healthy, small, short con, we could have done this as an hour-and-a-half episode as opposed to a 3.5-hour monstrosity.
Yeah, I don't even want to know how long this is.
It's going to be north of 3.5.
Oh, God. For those of you who listen to this, thank you.
Why?
Because it's 3.5 hours long.
No. Why are you listening to this?
Oh, yeah. I question your judgment. Oh yeah, we forgot to do a code phrase this week.
Yeah, it's fine. We're not going anywhere next week.
Yeah, we're just going to. If we go anywhere, it'll be Anime, Ohio, which is a small con in the Sheraton Convention Center near Cincinnati.
We're also moving house
Yes,
next week.
so we might do that Sunday, but there's a decent chance we will just be exhausted on Sunday and don't do that. We will see.
We are moving house. We have a lot to do this week. It's gonna be a whole thing.
Yep. You almost said something different, didn't you?
Yeah. So
Love
yeah.
you.
So yeah, again. But the week after that is which one is it?
That is Techo, I think.
Is that Techo or Doki?
I think it's Techo.
Okay.
I'll double check. But it's either Techo or Dokido. It's either Techo, Doki. No, you're right. It's Dokido. Then it's Techo.
Then Gen Con.
Yes.
Because I remember that Techo's the one.
Techo is the week before Gen Con, so we can't do the back and forth on it, which is fine. Or we have to do the back and forth on it because we don't want to be missing Em and the boys 3 weeks in a row because there's a decent chance we're doing Key City the week after that.
Yeah, which would actually make 4 weeks in a row if we did Techo because we're away for Dokido.
Yep. Which would be insane.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
July's a busy month.
Yeah.
June had bugger all in it. July's nonsense.
June had Origins, but Origins is a home con. So.
Yeah.
Like, there is zero question that if Origins happens and we are this side of the ocean, that we are returning to Origins.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Assuming we're both working.
Yeah.
The clouds look like kidneys. I feel like it's a sign.
Oh, God.
That was a good outro.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And it looks like 3 kidneys, too. Like Iggy's 3 kidneys. That's a good sign.
Good night, everybody.
You should also ask people what, like, organ their pool is shaped like.
Good night, everybody.
Because they're all like kidney. Here, let's just cut it off, honey. This